So if someone approaches you, you should tell me right away. I heard some things that, I heard that a juror in the case I suspected Monday was approached, and the sheriff's department is doing an investigation with regard to that. So if anything like that happens, please let me know immediately. Right?
Judge, not by, the allegation isn't by a lawyer, just
No,
like.
no, it wasn't. It wasn't by a lawyer. It was alleged to have been by someone from the media who thought that jurors for another judge were jurors for this case, and it was someone from the media. So I just want to let you know that some people do not follow my orders. All right. Who's next witness?
Special Agent Brett Brandon. And Judge, for the record, we did speak with counsel. There's stipulation to the admission of all exhibits through this witness. That's 31 through 75, Judge.
Your Honor, just give me 1 second.
Okay, sure.
Yes, that's correct. I just was checking the number. Thank you. I'm sorry. 31 was listed as, but you're going to do it.
Okay, so let's do this doc. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
Could you raise your hand? Do you swear to affirm the testimony you're about to give the truth, help you God?
I do.
Could you pull the report before you have to step up? Have a seat. Could you state your name for the record? Sorry, first impression.
Yes, Brett Brandon, B-R-E-T-T, Brandon, B-R-A-N-D-O-N.
Thank you, Judge. Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
All right, just to let everyone know, there's a lot of exhibits here, so Mark and I are going to try to do this, at least get the exhibits together to be as efficient and quick as possible. Special Agent, what's your formal title?
It's a special agent with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, commonly referred to as the ATF.
All right, and as part of as being a special agent in the ATF, what are you assigned to right now?
Right now I'm assigned to the Pontiac Gun Violence Task Force. It's a partnership with the Oakland County Sheriff's Office focused on investigating the criminal possession and use of firearms, specifically shooting investigations.
Okay, and for those of us who don't, or people might not know exactly, it should be common sense with the name, but what does the ATF do?
The ATF enforces the nation's arson, explosives, and firearms laws, but as you might expect, our primary focus is on enforcing the federal firearms laws.
Okay, and does it involve state laws or regulations in any way?
Yes, so as I stated before, I'm on the Pontiac Gun Violence Task Force, and through that and other partnerships, we commonly embed with and work with state and local law enforcement on a daily basis.
Okay, so you do still enforce state laws in that capacity?
Yes, investigate state crimes, yes, with,
Okay.
with the state and locals.
Investigate, thank you. Can you tell the jury what your background and experience is?
Yes, I have a Bachelor of Arts in Political Science from Oakland University. I also went to law school for 1 year at the Catholic University of America. I then went to the ATF National Academy and completed the requisite training to become a special agent.
So you would rather be a special agent than a lawyer?
Yes.
Okay. And how many years have you been in the ATF?
I've been an agent for a little over 10 years, and I've been with the agency for nearly 15 this summer. I was a student intern working primarily in intelligence for 4 years, both in undergrad and that 1 year of law school.
Okay. Approximately how many shooting investigations have you been involved in?
Hundreds.
Hundreds?
Yes.
And you testified earlier your job is to enforce and investigate federal firearm laws, but do you have a general understanding of state firearm laws?
Yes, I investigate crimes committed within the state of Michigan involving firearms as a part of my assignment on the task force and other previous assignments with that task force setting. Yes.
Okay. Special Agent, do you know who Jennifer Crumbley is?
Yes,
Do you see her anywhere in the courtroom today?
I do.
Would you describe what she's wearing?
She's got a gray and white sweater on, seated at the defense table in the middle.
Thank you. May the record reflect. He's properly identified.
I don't know if I can reflect the identification of the defendant, Jennifer.
How did you get involved in the investigation on this prosecution and one with the shooter? Can you explain to the jury how that happened?
Yes, I'm the federal agent assigned to the Oxford shooting investigation.
Okay, let's go back to November 30th. Do you remember where you were that day?
Yes.
Where were you in the morning?
I was in the Detroit Field Division office in downtown Detroit.
Okay, and when did you first hear of the shooting?
Within several minutes of the shooting, an assistant special agent in charge at the time came into my partner and I's office and informed me that there had been a shooting at Oxford High School. He knew that I grew up in a surrounding town, was aware of the area, and wanted to inform me. I immediately grabbed my things and ran out the door out to my car and drove north.
Okay, you've responded, and part of your job, do you respond to active shooters?
Yes.
Okay. When you heard about the Oxford shooting, did anyone assign you or tell you you had to drive there and go to the scene?
No.
And did anyone else in your office at that moment go with you?
At that time, I think information was still coming in. At that time, I don't think anyone had responded yet. No.
And what made you go immediothe
I've had familiarity with the area. I knew exactly how to get to Oxford High School. I'd also been involved in another investigation recently with the Oakland County Sheriff's Office at that time. I had a close relationship with them and thought that I'd be able to get on the ground quickly and help out in any way I could.
And this was the community that you're familiar with?
Yes.
Okay. About how long was it after you heard that you left the building?
Immediately. My chair was still spinning, according to my partner.
So was your partner there when you left?
No, he had stepped out for a minute.
And when he came back, your chair was spinning?
Yes.
Okay. So how long does it take you to drive from downtown Detroit to Oxford High School in a normal day?
With traffic, could be quite a time, definitely around an hour.
All right. Talk to me about once you got on the road, on the way up there.
As I started driving on the freeway, I believe it was when I got to the Troy area, the Big Beaver exit, that I began to notice other law enforcement with their lights and sirens activated, also driving north on 75 and joining somewhat of, I call it, a caravan on I-75, joining other people.
What was the rate of speed in the caravan?
It was fast, but it was safe.
So there was no traffic. Was everyone moving to the side of the road?
Yes, people were getting over at that time, yes.
Okay. As you drove, were you aware whether or not it was a false alarm or if it was a real active shooting situation?
As I drove, I began to receive information from our intelligence employees that it was indeed a real shooting and that we're reporting there were victims and fatalities.
Okay. Do you remember who else you talked to on the way to the shooting?
I spoke to ATF Intelligence Research Specialist Michael Malone. At one point, I also spoke to my wife.
About how long did it take you to get there?
Approximately 35 minutes.
And you arrived with a caravan of other first responders?
Yes, as I got off Lapeer Road around 24 to drive north towards the high school, it was like the Red Sea had parted and everyone was parked on the right side of the road. And there was a caravan now of people coming from Auburn Hills and Pontiac, unmarked cars, marked cars, and joining that caravan to get to the high school.
Lights and sirens?
Yes.
What did you observe when you approached the Oxford High School complex?
When I arrived at the school, I saw some Oakland County deputies that I'd known from prior cases, as well as other people from other departments starting to run towards the school. At that point, I don't exactly recall when I learned that the shooter was in custody, but I knew there was no gunfire going on and no one was moving as if the threat was still active. It became clear to me that not the scene was secure, but that the threat had been either eliminated or detained.
Did you see any students in the parking lot or around?
No.
Were you able to determine where the students were?
Yes, as I drove past, I believe it's the Meyer there, it seemed like there was way more cars than normal in that parking lot, so I assumed that's where they were meeting.
Okay. So you approached the building and did you enter the building?
Yes.
Which entrance?
It would have
Never
been,
mind, it's going to be too much. We had a map of the school that we admitted earlier, but where in relation to that hallway did you approach the building?
I arrived at the main entrance, which would be off Ray Road, and where the parents would drop off their students in the morning or pick them up in the afternoon and the buses go. I arrived at that entrance.
Okay, when you approached the entrance, were you allowed in?
Yes, my law enforcement status was verified and I was allowed to enter the building, yes.
Okay. Tell the jury what you did.
As I entered, I realized that they were on their, I believe at that time, their second clear of the building to make sure that it was safe. Again, I worked with other individuals from the Oakland County Sheriff's Office, and they informed me that Lieutenant Willis was in charge. At that time, I thought the best use of my federal abilities and assistance would be to locate the firearm and start the urgent trace.
So I just want to stop you there, backing up. You go into the building, and when you say it was a second clear, so just to make sure everybody knows, that means the students were no longer there.
Yes, the students have been evacuated at that time, yes.
The shooter was in custody. Were you able to learn that?
Yes, during that time is when I learned that the shooter was in custody.
Okay, and what was the scene like when you approached? Like, how many people did you see?
There were dozens, if not 100 law enforcement officers in the main front office area of the school.
Okay, and you were told that Lieutenant Willis was the ranking officer in charge?
Yes.
Okay, this guy right here?
That's right.
Okay, and did you track him down?
Yes.
Where was he?
He was standing in front of the administrative offices in the front of the school.
Okay, and what did you do?
I told him that I was from ATF. I believe some other people let him know who I was as well. And then I asked if I could get the identifying information and physically observe the firearm used in the shooting.
Why did you do that?
So to start a trace to determine who first bought the firearm, I needed to know the make, model, and serial number of the firearm. And I wanted to physically inspect it to make sure that the information I was getting was accurate.
Okay, but it might seem like an obvious question, but that's also what the ATF does, correct?
Yes, that's our primary role in a situation like this. In addition to being, responding to the active shooter situation, that is the number one thing that we offer that other people can't start themselves. Yeah.
Okay, and so what was Lieutenant Willis's response to that request?
Lieutenant Willis brought me to where the firearm was located. It was in a trash receptacle with some other items, I believe a couple magazines and maybe the shooter's cell phone, and I was allowed to take pictures of those items and markings, and I transmitted that information to ATF Intelligence Research Specialist Michael Malone to start the urgent trace.
Okay, when you say a trash bin, this wasn't a stationary thing. This was someplace the weapon and the magazines were placed there by some law enforcement, correct?
Correct.
Okay, to basically contain them.
Yes.
All right, and had they been touched? Do you know?
To my knowledge, they hadn't been touched. I know the firearm was made safe, and a round was ejected to make sure there was no other additional rounds in the firearm. But other than that, I don't think it had been handled at that point.
Okay, and you immediately started tracing the gun, you said?
Yes.
Okay, and then what did you do?
It was learned through that process that an individual in Rochester, Michigan had purchased that firearm.
I'm sorry, Special Agent Liz. Describe the weapon. Were you able to tell what kind of weapon it was?
Yes, it was a 6 hour SP 2022 9mm pistol with a specified serial number.
Okay. And I'm sorry I interrupted you, but you were able to find out who owned the gun?
Yes, so based on the tracing process, which ATF can contact the manufacturer to find out who they sold the firearm to, and that would be a federal firearms licensee. Most people call them gun stores, but they're federally licensed gun stores. Through that process, that gun store gets contacted, and then they provide the information that identifies the first purchaser of the firearm in interstate commerce. And that information identified an individual in Rochester. Two special agents went and spoke to that individual who stated they sold it back to the gun store in Oxford, and then those agents then responded to Oxford.
How quickly was that happening?
Within an hour.
they found out in an hour to go to this individual in Rochester who said he already sold it back to the federally licensed store.
Yes, I don't know how long it was between the actual start of the tracing process to when they eventually made it back to the gun store, but it was very quick.
And again, the way you trace a weapon is what? Can you tell the jury?
Yes, so the tracing process, federal firearms licensees, gun stores have to maintain records, it's called 4473, that shows who they sold the firearm to. They're paper copies held at the business, and so ATF would contact the manufacturer to find out who the manufacturer sold this firearm to.
But how do they identify which gun it is?
It's based on the make, model, and serial number of the firearm.
So every firearm has its own individual serial number?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. You said agents were doing that, and they ended up at the store where the gun was sold back to, correct? All right.
Correct.
What were you doing during this time?
At that time, I looked for Lieutenant Sam Marsban of the Oakland County Sheriff's Office. I again worked with him on prior cases and wanted to see what I could assist with. It became clear that the Oakland County Sheriff's Office was beginning to type a search warrant for a residence in Oxford, the Crumbley residence on East Street, and I began gathering facts and creating timelines for Lieutenant Marsban to use in the search warrant affidavit.
Okay, and at some point did you find out what the other special agents found out from the gun store and who that gun was sold to?
Yes.
And what did you discover?
It was sold to James Crumbley on November 26, 2021.
Okay. At that point, you said you started assisting Lieutenant Marsban?
Yes.
Okay. And then what did you do?
As part of those responsibilities, Detective Wogrowski was pulling the surveillance video of the school for the shooting, and I started to create a timeline of events and pass that information along to Lieutenant Marsban, as well as, I believe, looking for Ethan's class schedule to determine his whereabouts throughout the day.
Okay. When you learned that the gun was sold on November 26th to James Crumbley, before we get to that, how old do you have to be to purchase a gun in Michigan? Well, under federal law, how old do you have to be?
Under federal law, to purchase a handgun from a federal firearms licensee, you have to be 21 years old.
Okay, and do you know under state law?
Yes, based on my participation in this investigation and others, to buy a handgun from a federal firearms licensee, under federal law is 21. If you're buying a firearm from an individual in the state, that requirement's not there. It's not a federal law to do that. It's 18 years old.
Okay. And to be clear, we're talking about handguns?
Yes.
Okay. Were you able to determine whether or not James Crumbley or anyone else in the household had owned any other firearms?
Yes.
Can you tell the jury how you determined that?
Yes, as a part of taking part in the search warrant at the Crumbley residence, I learned that James Crumbley had previously purchased 2 firearms from that same gun store in Oxford.
Okay, and what were the names of those firearms? What kind of handguns?
There was a Cobra Classic ENT Derringer 22 caliber, as well as a Caltech P17 22 caliber pistol.
Okay, I'm going to hand you what's already been previously admitted, the actual physical evidence, and we are going to put a court about gloves on and we're handling it. Let me know when you're ready. Okay. May I approach? Okay. I'm handing you what's marked and admitted as People's 32, Exhibit 32. Can you tell the jury what that is?
Yes, this is the Sig Sauer SP 2022 9mm pistol that was used in the school shooting.
Okay, and just so the jury knows, you've made that safety handle, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And I'm just going to give you a second, just so everyone can see it. Do you know about how much that weighs? It's heavy. For me, it's heavy.
Yes, it's not a light firearm, no.
Okay. That's previously admitted.
It's Exhibit 32.
It's Exhibit 32. Special Agent, that is the murder weapon, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And what's the significance of a 9mm versus another handgun, particularly the Derringer and the Caltech?
So it would refer to the caliber. So the caliber is measured in the diameter of the bore of the firearm. The bore would be where the projectile or bullet expels from the firearm. If it's the 22, it's just the measurement versus the 9mm, meaning that the 9mm is a bigger round than the 22.
Okay. I don't think they saw that. So the bore you're referring to is right here?
Nope, it would be where the projectile actually would come out of.
Here.
Nope, it would be through, if you could actually, this would be considered the bore, and that is the side. The diameter of that is the caliber of the specific round
Can
and
you just hold
firearm.
it up just a little bit so
Yes.
that the jury can see? Okay. You were able to determine that there were 2 other weapons that James Crumbley purchased, correct?
Yes, correct.
And were you able to determine when those weapons were purchased?
Yes, one was purchased on this June 15th and picked up on June 16th. That would be the Cobra Classic ENT Derringer. And then on June 16th, James Crumbley purchased the Caltech P17 22 caliber pistol, but did not pick it up until the 17th of June.
Okay, I'm going to take this for a second. And then I'm going to hand you what's People's 33. You can just grab that out of the box.
Yep.
And can you tell the jury what that is?
Yep, this is the Cobra Classic Derringer purchased on June 6th, picked up on June 16th.
Okay, can I have that for a second so they can see? Does everyone see that? Okay. So this is significantly smaller than the 9mm. What is, you said earlier it's the caliber, but some might look at this and say it doesn't even look like a handgun. It's
Yes.
very small.
It is very small, and it only has a 2-round capacity for the firearm, but it is still a firearm, yes.
Okay. And then I'm going to hand you People's 34. What is that?
This is the Kel-Tec P17 22 caliber pistol purchased by James Crumbley on picked up on June 17th.
Okay. So I just handed you and admitted 3 separate weapons that were in the Crumbley household. This was the murder weapon referred to. You've examined all the evidence in this case. In fact, you're one of the officers in charge, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And is this the same gun that was posted by Jennifer Crumbley as a Christmas gift to her son?
Yes.
Okay. And how do you know that's the gun? Is there anything unique about it? Just looking at it.
Yes, that's the specific make and model, and obviously the serial number would be distinct as well for the purchase by James Crumbley.
Okay. And then this is the Kel-Tec, significantly lighter. Do you know how much each weighs?
I don't know off the top of my head how much each weighs, but it is lighter than the SIG and the Derringer. Or the Derringer and the SIG or the Kel-Tec are less than the SIG.
Okay. Can you tell me what the difference is in terms of caliber between the Derringer, the Kel-Tec, and a 9mm? Actually, can you tell the jury?
Yes, so the Derringer on the top is a 22 caliber, the Kel-Tec in the middle is a 22 caliber, and the SIG Sauer is a 9mm.
Okay, so what would you typically use a Derringer and a Kel-Tec for?
Generally speaking, target practice. I guess some may use it for self-defense. I would say more than 9mm for self-defense and target shooting.
Okay, and you said you've investigated hundreds of shootings.
Yes.
Okay, any multiple victim shootings?
Yes.
All right, have you ever responded to an investigation or a scene on multiple victim shootings where a Derringer was used?
I can't say for certain if a Derringer was used, but a 22 caliber, regardless of the type of firearm, I don't believe in my career I've ever worked a multiple victim case with a 22 caliber scene.
Okay, why is that?
This is like, again,
Your
I guess,
Honor, I would object to that. That would be speculation on why he hasn't.
Yeah, there's probably a better question. But he doesn't know what
Can
he is.
I just get some leeway and I'll clear it up? I'm just going to get to that question very, very quickly.
Well, because that is about public speculation, so go ahead.
Okay, thank you. What is the weapon you normally see if on a multiple victim shooting?
Your Honor, I would object to the relevance of this. This case is about the SIG Sauer being the weapon. We don't dispute that. We all know that.
Response?
My response is that weapon is more dangerous. It
Your
causes
Honor,
more damage.
I object to this record. I object to making this record in front of the jury. Ms. McDonald is using this opportunity to tell the jury information that I'm objecting to, and I'm asking if we can approach.
Okay.
Do you want us on the hall?
Actually,
Going to show in our case the reason why that weapon, the 9mm, was purchased and why it's significantly different. That is, and it's absolutely relevant. It has to do with,
present other evidence that will show why that.
yes, including statements of the shooter.
Your Honor, I think that's extremely.
Well, there are some statements that are coming into trial, right?
There are, Your Honor, but there is no way the prosecutor can prove this weapon was bought to kill people, specifically by James Crumbley or Jennifer Crumbley. And this case is about Jennifer Crumbley. It's not about Ethan. It's not about James.
Okay, so part of it is about what they knew, though, right? Part of it is about what the parents knew.
Part of it is about what the parents knew, but there is no evidence to lay a foundation that my client knows anything about the deadly capability of these guns. Nothing. She has no. There's
It sounds
no
like
foundation.
an argument she's going to make in defense and in her defense, and she has a right to. I just want to be able to have my witness testify about what kind of weapon this is and what the reason you have a 9mm versus a 22.
Well, I guess another question is that you can shoot more bullets out of that quicker. Is that what you want to know?
That and the type of damage those bullets
I
can do.
know a lot about guns you can take, right?
I thank you. Your Honor. I'm not sure every member of the jury does, so I'm trying to explain it to people who are not familiar with firearms.
Okay, well, yeah, no, I understand that. Part of what you're saying might be argument, but it's a fair question, that the SIG can eject more rounds quicker. You can shoot rounds quicker from the SIG.
I don't know. I don't know if that's necessarily true.
So if you just give me a couple questions.
Okay.
All right, thank you. What is the difference between the SIG and a 22?
It's the size of the round is the main difference. And,
Okay, the size of the actual bullet, for lack of another
Yeah,
say
correct.
round. Okay,
Yeah.
and why does the size matter?
the size matters because the larger the bullet, the bigger the hole.
Okay, more damage, whatever it is you're shooting.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. All right. You said that when the other special agents were finding out where these weapons were purchased, you were still at the school.
Yes.
And then can you talk about what you did with Lieutenant Marsman?
Yes, I was watching the surveillance video from the school documenting the shooter's path through the day as well as his actions during the shooting.
Okay, and what were you able to view?
The actual surveillance video of the shooting taking place.
And who showed that to you?
I was with Lieutenant Marsban and Detective Wogrowski.
Okay, when you say the actual surveillance, what does that mean?
So there was an administrative office inside the high school that had the computer system with the surveillance video playing on a large monitor. I was in that room reviewing the footage as it played.
Okay, and we're going to get back to that, but at some point, did you actually go to the home?
Yes.
Why did you do that?
Lieutenant Marsban had obtained the search warrant at that time, and I responded to assist with the search warrant.
And when you arrived, who else was there, if anyone?
Multiple detectives from the Oakland County Sheriff's Office and also Lieutenant Marsban.
Did you actively search the home, or were you just present?
I actively assisted in the search.
Okay, did you recover anything in the house related to these weapons or relating a case, anything? What did you find? I don't want to put words in your mouth.
I was present for the recovery of evidence, and I also observed 2 targets on the wall in what would be the, I guess we call it the shooter's childhood bedroom, which shares a wall with his parents'
Okay.
bedroom.
Before we get to that, did you recover these 2 handguns in the house?
I was not the one who recovered them, but I was present when everything was there.
Okay.
Yes.
Were any other cases or boxes or anything related to the firearms recovered?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to hand you what's been marked as People's 35. Can you tell the jury what? Yeah, isn't it? What that is?
Yes, this is the pistol case that came with the Kel-Tec pistol. It'd be the middle firearm on the table over there.
So this.
Yes.
And you previously testified, and the other witness, this was purchased June 21st.
It'll be June 17th.
Oh, I'm sorry, June 17th. Okay. All right. And does that case have a locking mechanism?
It's not locked now. There are 2 holes in it, like most standard pistol cases, where if you needed to lock it, you could slide standard locks through each one of these holes.
Yes. So these holes right here.
Yes.
Okay.
Is that cable? Is that what you do with a cable?
No, we're going to get to that, Your Honor. I promise. Okay. Can you open that case? Okay. Do you know where that case was found?
Yes, it was in the kitchen, I believe, underneath the islander in a cabinet.
Okay. And if I can see this for a second, you open it up, and what's inside this Cal-Tec case?
That is a cable lock.
Okay. Is this how it was discovered? Was this cable lock in the Cal-Tec case when this was found?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to hand you the cable lock, and can you tell the jury exactly what that is?
Yes, so a cable lock is used as a mechanism to make a firearm inoperable, and it's something you have to defeat to operate the firearm.
What do you mean defeat?
So you have to find the key, unlock it, or take it off in some other way to load and discharge the firearm.
Okay. When you examined that for this first time, what, if anything, did you notice about it?
I noticed there wasn't much wear and tear. The packaging didn't have many markings on it, as if the cable lock had been taken in and out. It's very wide, so taken out many times, there'd be more markings on the sides of this cable lock. It looks almost new.
Does it look like it's ever been disturbed?
No.
How many keys go with a cable lock?
Generally, you receive 2 keys on the same key ring for 1 cable lock.
Okay. Are there 2 keys in there?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else about this?
No.
Right. Have you ever opened this up?
No.
And as far as you know, no one's actually disturbed this.
Not to my knowledge.
Okay, so this is in the same condition as it was when it was found in the Cal-Tec case, correct?
Yes, that's my understanding.
Okay, can this be used on all of these handguns?
It can be used on the Kel-Tec pistol and the 6-hour pistol. I'm not sure how small that cable is for the Derringer. It may fit, I'm not quite sure.
Okay, thank you. This is exhibit 39,
Yeah,
the cable lock,
Oh, the lock is separate.
Yes.
Okay.
and that's it. All right, I'm handing you what's been admitted as People's 36. And what is that, Special Agent?
This is a black safe with a combination on the front. It was found in the Crumbley parents' bedroom on the shelf in the TV stand or dresser where they kept their TV.
Okay, how many numbers is the combination?
It's 3.
All right, and what is it set at?
0, 0, 0.
All right, what's significant about 000?
That is generally the factory default for a lot of safes.
Okay, so even though to some people who aren't familiar with firearms this might look like a box, this is actually what you refer to as a gun safe, correct?
Yes.
You call this a safe?
I'll call that a safe, yes.
Okay, what, if anything, was found inside this safe?
Both the Derringer and the Kel-Tec pistol were located inside that safe.
Okay, I'm going to hand this back to you, and then I'm going to hand you the Cal-Tec that was found in it, and if you could place that in there as it was found. You can.
Imagine the slide is forward on this when it was found.
And then I'm handing you the Derringer. Okay, can I see the pen? Is this how these 2 handguns were found in the bedroom of Jennifer James Crumbley?
Yeah, I don't recall the exact positioning, but both were placed in that safe, yes.
Okay, and it was closed and locked to 000.
I'm not sure the combination at the time when it was recovered. I know that the combination is 000.
Okay. Have you had an opportunity to examine this and determine whether or not the SIG fit in this safe?
Yes, the SIG is too large of a firearm. The safe will not close with that firearm inside the safe being the SIG.
Okay. Will it not close if there's one of the other handguns, or it won't fit no matter, regardless of whether another handgun was in there?
It will not fit by itself or with another firearm. It will not close.
Okay. All right. I'm handing you what's been admitted as People's 31. What is that?
This is the pistol case for the Sig Sauer 9mm pistol used in the school shooting.
Okay. So, in other words, that is the case that this SIG was sold in.
Yes.
Okay. And do you know where that was found, and where was it recovered, if you know?
It was located on the bed in the Jennifer and James Crumbley's bedroom next to an empty box of Patriot Defense ammunition.
Okay. And does that have a locking mechanism?
It doesn't have one inserted, but as the other pistol case, there are 2 holes in the pistol box that you could place a locking mechanism through to secure the case.
Okay. And
Your Honor, I would just object as to foundation for where the gun case was found, because this special agent came in after other law enforcement had pulled that case out, opened it, and put it on the bed. And so it's very misleading for this jury to hear that this gun case is just laying on a bed. And so I would just ask that there be foundation laid about how he.
Okay, I understand. So,
could you respond?
yeah, okay.
Judge, he was on scene, at the search warrant scene.
He was on the search warrant scene, but what she's saying is he initially the one that found that case and was it found on the bed? Can you clarify?
It was found on the bed, but I think at least 2 times Ms. Smith said she didn't object to foundation on her exhibits, in which case it sounds like she does, because that's a foundational question. And
That's not true. I object to the question. I don't object to the exhibit. I object to the foundation about the testimony of that being found on the bed, making it sound like these parents left it out on the bed.
we're happy to have we have Officer Stoy to
When you saw the gun case, it was on the bed?
No.
No.
Not when I was in the search warrant house. No, when I was in the house for the search warrant, I did not observe it on the bed. No, at that point, it had been moved off the bed.
Okay.
We're happy to bring that into another officer. No problem. Okay.
Can we get clarification then on where he saw this gun case? I can ask on cross. I'm sorry. Never
When's
mind.
the first time that you had a chance to examine that, Special Agent?
I believe it was on the, with the other evidence, either on the kitchen counter or on the dining room table inside the Crumbley house, once I arrived on scene.
So you saw it that day?
Yes.
Okay. And if you can place it on the ledge there so the jury can see it, can you turn it around? Is it clasped right now?
You're moving for its admission, right?
It's already admitted.
I don't think it was admitted.
Oh, she stipulated to the admission.
You know what happened? It was listed under a different witness, but we do stipulate.
Okay, thank you. Could you, is it clasped completely right now?
Yes.
Okay, could you, can you, would you mind if you stand right there?
Yep.
I'll like trying to stand up to see, so. Is that okay, Judge? Sure. Okay. I'd like you to demonstrate how to open that for the jury, if you could just maybe place it on the ledge so that they.
Can you all see it?
Your Honor, we can't see it. Can we?
You can move if you want.
Okay.
You can-
Or can we just see it maybe twice, like show them, then?
Sure.
Thanks. And I'm sorry, can we see it? Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, and then if you could clasp it back. Okay, so, Special Agent, I know it sounds like a silly question, but it makes a noise when you open it and clasp it back, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna get to that in a second. I'm sorry, there's just a lot of exhibits and I wanna make sure I get to everything.
That's why I saw it. So, yeah, okay.
All right. You don't have, well, do you want to hold that for now? Or what?
Put it on the ground.
When you heard Ms. Fack testify about what is provided with somebody when they purchase a handgun, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and she mentioned materials from the ATF.
Yes.
Okay. There's a pamphlet actually provided, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I'm approaching, is this a copy of the pamphlet?
Yes, it is.
Okay, can you tell the jury what the title of it is?
It's the ATF Youth Handgun Safety Act Notice.
All right, and if you open up the pamphlet, what are the first 2 items
For
there?
the record, that's 37, right?
Yes.
That's a demonstrative aid 237, which is
Right. Okay.
So at the top it says Youth Handgun Safety Act Notice. The first bullet point says the misuse of handguns is a leading contributor to juvenile violence and fatalities. Number 2, safely storing and securing firearms away from children will help prevent the unlawful possession of handguns by juveniles, stop accidents, and save lives.
How familiar are you with that pamphlet?
From this investigation, pretty familiar.
Okay, and what is the purpose in the law around, if you know, why is that included in every sale?
I think the title of the pamphlet speaks for itself. It's a Youth Handgun Safety Act Notice. It's putting you on notice that not safely storing your firearms will contribute to juvenile violence.
Okay. You've had an opportunity to examine all of the evidence in this case, probably the digital evidence, the evidence from the phones, the physical evidence, the narratives, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and What did you notice when the gun, the SIG was photographed by the shooter, and then a couple of the other images taken? Was the pamphlet with it?
In some photos it was, in others it was not.
Okay, and up until recently, what did you think happened to the pamphlet that was sold with the SIG?
Your Honor, I would object to speculation.
Isn't it speculation?
I'm kidding, I would just ask for a little leeway, it's part of his investigation.
Why is it speculation? What do you think happened to it?
Did you know what happened to it?
No.
Okay, and then recently, did you discover what happened to it?
Yes.
Can you tell the jury how?
Preparing for trial, I opened up the Sig Sauer pistol case.
This right here?
No, that would be
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
this one
Okay,
here.
this was in the last week?
Yes.
Okay,
And I noticed that there was a piece of paper underneath the foam, so I lifted up the foam and found a receipt from what we're referring to as the gun store in Oxford for the firearm, as well as the ATF Youth Handgun Safety Act notice.
so it was under the foam in the case that the SIG was stored in?
Yes.
When they left the gun store?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you. One moment, Your Honor. That's 37.
Okay. One of the cases is.
Yes. Special Agent, what are the requirements once you've been cleared to purchase, and you do purchase a gun in Michigan, once it's cleared and checked and you're allowed to purchase it?
So
You
as
just
part-
take it home and it's yours and that's it?
No, so as a part of this investigation and others, I am aware that when you purchase a firearm in Michigan and are given the pistol sales record by the federal firearms licensee, you do have 10 days to take that to basically local or county law enforcement.
Okay, were you able, or are you able to ever determine whether or not that was done for any weapon? How do you do that?
So there's a law enforcement
Your
database.
Honor, I would just object. May we please approach?
Okay.
Or county law enforcement within 10 days of the purchase of firearms. We're instructed to,
Legally purchase what?
so based on both work experience and personal experience buying firearms, we're instructed to take that pistol sales record to the local or county law enforcement within 10 days of the purchase.
Okay, that's different from having a CPL?
Yes.
Okay, talk to the jury about what that is. I think sometimes people get confused if they think once you get your CPL, then you don't have to register it, or vice versa.
So a concealed pistol license basically is just a permit to carry the weapon on your person within the state of Michigan. It's called a concealed pistol license.
Which is not an issue here, but it's different than registering the firearm.
Yes.
Okay, and I think the last question I asked was, is there a way the ATF can determine whether or not a handgun was registered in Michigan?
There's a way that state, local, and federal law enforcement can query in Michigan to determine if a firearm is registered. Yes.
Okay, can you tell the jury how that?
Yes. So there's a law enforcement database that state, local, and federal have access to that you query. The serial number of the firearm determines. It'll pop up who the firearm is registered to if it's registered.
Okay, and did you do that?
Yes.
Okay, and so the Derringer, was this registered?
No.
Okay, and the Caltech, was this registered?
No.
Okay, and then the SIG, was that registered?
No, it was not. But I will say that there is a.
He had some time to
He had some time to still drop it off after, but there were events that occurred. Obviously, the shooting happened within that 10 days.
Right. Thank you. One moment, Your Honor. So we previously admitted the trigger lock statement, and Mark's going to try to pull that up and keep track of. There it is, and it's People's 38. Whose signature is that? If you know, what's the name on the statement?
Under purchaser, it says James Crumbley.
Okay, and can you tell the jury what this trigger lock statement means at the top, the boxes and
Yes.
what it indicates because they're checked?
So this form was provided by the gun store in Oxford during the purchase. It was filled out by both James Crumbley and Cammie Beck during the purchase. And the first part says, this sale included, the first box that checked is, it says, a trigger lock or other device designed to disable a firearm and prevent the discharge of a firearm, or a gun case or storage container that can be secured to prevent unauthorized access to the firearm. It basically means that those two things have been provided because those boxes are checked. In this case, being the cable lock and the gun case itself, if you put locks in it, could be locked.
Okay, thank you, and that's been previously admitted. I want to take you back to watching the surveillance of the shooting, and when I asked you what does that mean, from what time to what time were you able to watch surveillance in the school?
Are you referring to the actual time of the day?
No, how much surveillance did you watch, and what did it include?
I watched a majority of the footage, including Ethan's whereabouts through the day, or the shooter's whereabouts through the day, and then also the actual shooting itself and the aftermath of that.
Okay, and if you know, were you able to determine how many rounds were fired?
32.
Okay, and watching the surveillance from an investigative standpoint, was anything interesting or caused you to take other steps?
Yes, there were three main things that caught my attention during the video, specifically during the shooting.
There were three things?
There were three things,
Okay,
yes.
can you list them for the jury?
Yes, so first, as the shooting began, the shooter was using only one arm for a majority of the first part of the shooting. And then as he moved down the hallway and tape comes into view of the screen, he takes a two-handed shooting grip, takes a, I would call a shooter stance, feet wide, his shoulders roll forward, and he takes aim with using the sights and fires one round.
When you say using the sights, what do you mean?
Meaning that there's a mechanism on the firearm that allows you to take aim. If I can,
Okay, I'm handing you the SIG, which is the murder weapon. Can you show the jury? You're going to have to stand up.
yeah. So here you see how there's two white dots back here. I'm sorry for this is a safe firearm. The two dots back here are considered the rear sight. See that over there? And if you line up the front sight with the rear sight, that is how you aim a firearm. In the video, I noted that Ethan did that on
Sure.
the shooter did that on the first shot as well as the second shot he took at tape.
Okay, Special Agent, we have not shown that surveillance video at this point. So I'm going to try to provide some context. And
What purpose is this to even show that video?
And lining up the sights.
This isn't about Ethan Crumbley, though. I don't understand how this applies.
You're going at a fast pace. Can you describe what you saw?
Yes, during that specific portion, he came to a dead stop and took aim. And then as he moved forward, he walked 2 or 3 steps forward and then took aim again and discharged the firearm.
And what seemed remarkable about that to you? If
Well,
anything?
Your Honor, I just object to the relevance. This is not the trial for the shooter.
Your Honor, the knowledge of firearm proficiency is absolutely relevant, and it is a contested fact, and it is relevant to these proceedings.
Yeah, I'm going to allow it. I hope you guys do understand that, right? Some of these things overlap, but you were carefully chosen to distinguish between what the shooter did and what we're here about. And we all trust you to do that. So I know it's difficult and an emotional day, but some of these things are not to horrify or upset you, but to let you know some of the circumstances. So I hope that you separate those things.
And it is offered precisely what he's testifying to about the proficiency with the firearm that the shooter had.
Yeah, I'm going to allow it.
Thank you. What, if anything, was remarkable about that?
when I first saw it, I immediately said to others in the room that I thought that the shooter had been to a shooting range or had training in firearms.
And that's based on what you just testified to?
Yes.
Okay. Particularly with the shot fired that killed Tate Muir, was there anything about that other than the stance?
It was the stance, the way he rolled the shoulders forward, and then the way as he walked up to take the second shot that he re-established a stable shooting platform to take the second shot.
Okay. Thank you. The entire shooting lasted how long, if you know?
The entire shooting, I don't recall the exact length of time, but it was less than 10 minutes.
Okay. Were you able to observe any loading of magazines in the safe? And I should back up. What is a magazine?
So a magazine is the part of the firearm that contains ammunition that's loaded in the magazine while the firearm.
And I'm sorry to keep doing this, but
Sure.
can you show the jury where a magazine, how you would load a magazine if you had one?
Yes. So I think there's actually one in the SIG box here. So this is a
Could you stand up? So
yes.
I can see?
So this is a SIG Sauer pistol magazine. It's a 15-round magazine. This would be inserted into the magazine well when it's loaded with ammunition. You would then send the slide forward, chambering it around, and at that point the firearm's ready to be discharged.
Okay. And you said 32 rounds were fired?
Yes, there were 32 fired cartridge casings or shell casings that were recovered from the school, yes.
And there were how many in the magazine?
The SIG Sauer magazine is a 15-round magazine, and you can also fit an additional round in the chamber for a total of 16 rounds.
Okay. Did you ever observe on the video the shooter reloading?
Yes.
Can you tell me about that?
Yes, so I believe it was the first time the shooter reloaded. The magazine was empty, and he loaded a new magazine into the firearm. At another point, this was the second thing that I thought was notable in the surveillance video, he conducted what at ATF we're trained as a tactical magazine exchange. I know other agencies call it a combat reload, but basically he was not out of ammunition in the firearm yet, but he knew that, I can't testify to what he knew, but
Why are you trained to do a combat reload?
to make sure that you always have more rounds in your magazine, so that that you have sufficient ammunition. So if you have half of a magazine, you would eject it, not throw it on the ground, you would put it in your pocket in case you need it, and then you load a full magazine, so now you're back to full capacity.
And what were you trained to be the purpose for that? When would you have cause to do that?
So for us, we're trained if we're involved in a shooting. If you do that, that way you have a fully loaded magazine in case you need to re-engage a threat. Obviously, the circumstances here were obviously different.
Okay. Thank you. 1 moment. That was the first thing. There were two other things.
So so the first was his shooting stance. The second was the tactical magazine exchange. The third thing was after the shooter exited the bathroom where he gave himself up. Eventually, he ejected the magazine out of the firearm and placed it on top of a trash receptacle, which I found odd at the time because if you were just doing a school shooting, it seemed odd to take the magazine and make a firearm safe.
So he walked out of the bathroom, and the evidence showed that is where Justin Schilling was killed. He walked out of the bathroom, and you said he took the magazine out, and you're saying that is making the firearm safe.
Yes, I don't believe he ejected around from the chamber. I don't recall right now. I don't believe he did. But yes, he separated the magazine from the firearm as if you were at a shooting range and taking the magazine out and setting it on like a
stationary trash can.
Yes.
Okay. And what did he do after that?
At that point, he got on the ground and was shortly thereafter taken into custody by sheriff's deputies.
Okay. And when he was he standing? Was he laying down? Was he sitting?
No,
kneeling?
he got into he was kneeling and then got into the prone position with his hands up.
Okay. Were you able to determine whether or not he used anything to protect his ears?
During the shooting?
Yes.
I don't recall, no.
Okay. I just want to make sure we got all three things.
Yep, that is all.
Okay. So after you determined that what you considered it proficiency or somewhat?
Yes, there was some level of firearms training exhibited in the surveillance video.
Okay. And so what did you do next?
So the following day, after knowing that ranges would be open in the morning, also additional information came in during the investigation that there was possibility that the family had been to a firearms range recently. I began looking for evidence of James, Jennifer, or Ethan Crumbley at shooting ranges in the area.
Okay. And is this part of a normal investigation you would do in a shooting?
Yes.
Okay. And so you started going to local shooting ranges?
No, I began calling. The first one I called was the most popular range probably in this area. And upon calling, they confirmed that they did have information and asked that I come in and verify my identity.
Okay. And how far away was that from the Crumbley home?
Not too far. It was in Clarkston, Michigan, so a couple towns over.
Okay. Did you go to the range?
Yes.
All right. And what did you? What kind of information were you seeking?
So the range provided multiple receipts from showing that James and Ethan and Jennifer Crumbley had been at the range in the past, as well as surveillance video documenting range visits on September 25th and on November 27th. I believe that's 3 days prior to the shooting.
Okay. Let's start with exhibits 40 and 41. Is that what these? Well, I'm missing. Okay. Especially what is on the screen?
These are Facebook messages between James and Jennifer Crumbley
And how were these retrieved?
through a search warrant served on Facebook.
Okay. You also, in the investigation, reviewed downloading from the actual phones, correct?
Yes.
All right. Were these messages still on Jennifer Crumbley's phone?
I know they were on James's phone. I don't recall if they were on Jennifer's phone.
Okay. Can you?
Your Honor, I'm sorry. I stipulated, but my copy does not have these stars on it, and they have eliminated some of the messages on this
I
exhibit.
think that's what it turns into.
Yeah.
Right, so I object
We're happy to provide all of the messages. We were just to be concise regarding these messages are offered to show Jennifer Crumbley's knowledge that they were at the store and the range. But I was just trying to be concise. But we're happy to give it all to
For
the
the,
jury.
for the interest of completion, Smith, I'll admit any portions of those that you like.
Yeah, Your Honor, I would ask for the whole, they gave me the
You have it
entire
all.
exhibit.
You have it all.
Okay, I have it all, but what you're putting up here is not it all, so.
We're happy to provide all of it. We're just going to talk about these two, and she can. And we'll provide every single thing possible to the jury. I'm just trying to not go through all of the messages that were pertinent to the shooting.
We're just taking slivers out. This is the problem. This is,
The whole exhibit's going to come in, but that's
Okay.
the reason that the stars are there to show that it's not a complete chain, that
Okay.
there's something in the middle. But I will admit the entire text chain, and you're also happy to present to the jury the entire text chain.
okay, thank you, Judge.
And Your Honor, there's no evidentiary requirement that we have to publish every text message in a 2,000 page string if we want to pull up. I'm not trying to misrepresent.
There isn't,
Okay.
but I'm just saying that if Ms. Smith would like those in, I would be happy to admit them for the purposes of completion.
We want it all in, so we're happy. We'll stipulate to it. This was only taken out not to deceive as much as to try to make. These are the ones about the gun range, but there's a lot of content about things like, purchases and all sorts of stuff. Okay, so can you read those to the jury, Special Agent?
Yes, so this is dated June 15th, 2021. So J.C. Crumbley is Jennifer Crumbley's Facebook account. That's in blue. And it says talk at 12 o'clock, question mark. And then James Crumbley, who's in green, responds, taking Ethan to store at 12. Jennifer responds, you get gun.
So that the last one was 11:34. That's UTC minus 4. Is that 11:34 a.m.?
This has been adjusted to Eastern Standard Time.
So it's really 11:34.
Yes.
Okay. And there's time passes, and now we're at 1:17. And what does Jennifer reply?
Jennifer asks, you get gun.
Okay. The next slide.
James responds, yes, and it says mo, but I believe it's supposed to be no. Jennifer questions that, says, huh? And then James says, we paid for the gun and bought it, but can't pick it up until everything clears Washington, in parentheses, FBI. Could be today, tomorrow, or next day. They don't know. Jennifer responds, gotcha. Bring me those fruit punch things when you come to bring hay.
Okay. And then that same Can you read the text on the slide?
Yes, so Jennifer sends a message that asks, how much is your gun? James replies, 300.
Okay. I want to direct your attention to Exhibit 24 that's already been admitted. What are we looking at?
This is a receipt from the gun store in Oxford for the Derringer that we've been talking about.
So this is the Derringer?
Correct.
Okay. And how much was the price?
Total price was $180.15.
Okay. And then the next, who purchased the Derringer?
James Crumbley.
Okay. What is Exhibit 26?
This is also a receipt from the gun store in Oxford for the Keltec P17 pistol.
So it's this one?
Yes,
All right, and the same day? Were these on the same day purchased?
they were purchased on different days.
Okay. And how much was this?
The gun itself was $299.95.
Okay. Thank you. All right. I want to draw your attention next to I'm sorry, Your Honor, there's just a lot of exhibits and I want to make sure we get it right. Okay. 27? No, we did that. I'm sorry. Facebook messages between James and Jennifer on June 20th, 2021. Can you read those? That's Exhibit 42.
Yes, again, so Jennifer's in blue and says, can you guys answer your phone? And James responds, no, at gun range, loud.
Okay. And then Exhibit 27. Can you tell the jury what these two videos are?
Yes, so there's, on James Crumbley's cell phone, there was a video on the 20th of June at 12:58 p.m. that shows the shooter shooting the Keltec pistol, and then after that, a couple minutes later, there's a video of the defendant's son shooting the Derringer pistol.
And these are it's the same day with the Facebook message before we just read?
Yes.
Okay. And this is Exhibit 43 and 44. So the first video, the shooter's, can you tell which firearm he's using?
Yeah, so the first video, the shooter's shooting a Keltec pistol.
This right here?
Yes. And
Okay. This was the one for $300?
yes.
Okay. And then the second one was
Yeah.
the Derringer?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. All right, I want to draw your attention to what's been marked as People's 45. Can you tell the jury what this is?
Yes, this is a Facebook message from James Crumbley to Jennifer Crumbley sending the video of, it appears to be the second video of the shooter shooting the Derringer.
So the second clip, which was shorter, where the shooter's shooting the Derringer, was sent to Jennifer from James.
Yes.
Okay. And is this a Facebook post?
No, this is a Facebook message from James Crumbley to Jennifer Crumbley.
Okay. Let me see. That's the second. That's the second clip, right? And then People's 46. What are we watching, Special Agent?
This is the video that James had sent to Jennifer via Facebook that she then posted, I believe, as an Instagram story that said, Ethan and James Crumbley both got handguns this week, testing them out at the range.
Okay, Ethan and James both got handguns this week, testing them out at the range. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. That's People's 46, Your Honor. I don't believe there's an objection.
That's what it is.
I'm going to direct your attention to the Exhibit 47, which was June 26th of 2021. What is that, Special Agent?
This is a receipt from the firearms range in Clarkston for range time and targets.
Okay, and Exhibit 48.
This is a Facebook message of, I believe, Ethan, the shooter shooting at the range in Clarkston, sent from James Crumbley to Jennifer Crumbley via Facebook Messenger.
Okay. And then 49. Was that the same video that was sent from James to Jennifer on June 26th?
Yes.
And what am I looking at right there?
This is the shooter at the gun range in Clarkston shooting the Keltec pistol with the Derringer visible on the shooting platform.
Okay. And do you know what Jennifer did with that? Where was that posted?
It was posted to an Instagram story on June 26th.
Whose Instagram story?
Jennifer's Instagram story.
And is this the actual Instagram story?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. Directing your attention to July 24th of 2021.
Your Honor, what number was that?
Yeah.
75.
75.
75.
I'm sorry, it's July 25th.
Okay.
Can you tell,
Wait, Hannah, I'm so sorry, what number?
It's, exhibit number 75, it's July 25th.
Okay, thank you.
yeah, I was trying to ask him so that we can, so it's 75, what were we just watching?
This is a video taken on James Crumbley's cell phone of Jennifer Crumbley shooting at the Clarkston range, the Keltec pistol.
Okay, the same, this one?
Yes.
Okay. All right, directing your attention to August 19th, 2021, exhibit 50 and 51. Can you tell me what this is?
Yes, this is a video sent by the shooter to another individual.
All right, and this was already admitted. What are we watching?
This is the shooter holding the Keltec pistol.
This?
Yes.
Okay.
And then he sends the slide forward. There's no magazine or chamber, or no round in the firearm.
Okay, was there any text messages about it or just the image?
There were also texts.
Okay.
I'm sorry, that was 50 or 51? We're going so fast right now, I can't.
I think it's 50, that was 51.
It's 50.
The text is 50, the video is 51.
Okay, the text is 50 that has the video in it, and then the video is 51, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, text is 50, video 51. And I'm sorry, I am so sorry, we're just going so
The
fast.
text contains the video.
And that's at the gun range, the shooter holding the Caltech, or shooting the Caltech, is that correct?
I'm happy to clear it up.
Okay.
Special Agent, what in that image are you able to observe?
It appears to be a couch.
Okay,
Do you know what time that was sent?
I don't recall the exact time. I'd have to look at the text message. I believe it was later in the evening.
Okay, we'll go back to that. What time was it sent, Special Agent?
I believe this is the next video. It was 9:31 p.m.
Okay. Were you able to find another image that showed that the shooter had access to the Caltech?
Yes. So on that same date, he sent another video to the same friend at 12:30 a.m. With the Caltech.
And this is 52 and 53. All right, Special Agent, you said this was sent at what time?
I believe it was 12:30 a.m.
And on that same day, which was August 19th?
Yeah, I believe it would be now the 20th.
Okay, I'm sorry, the
yeah.
20th, because it was after 12. And what do you see in the background can you tell the jury what you observed in the background of this photo?
Yes, so
This video, I'm sorry.
This video is taken on the dining room table in the Crumbley residence. Familiar with, after being inside and also reviewing photographs taken at the house during this investigation, that the wood grain matches on that table to the kitchen table in their dining room. In the video, the shooter loads a loaded firearm magazine into the firearm and then chambers around into the firearm.
So, is this a concern to you?
Yes.
Can you tell the jury why?
Well, as that ATF safety pamphlet states, the access to firearm by juveniles.
Your Honor, I would object because access to firearms by juveniles may be against the ATF pamphlet, but there's no evidence that there's not an adult there or anything happening.
Okay, yeah, well, he's not commenting on that. We don't know if anybody else was present.
No, Your Honor, I don't.
And Your Honor, I understand but that's argument, and she can use my data. Was there any message accompanying this video to his friend?
Yes.
What was the message?
My dad left it out, so I thought, why not? LOL.
And that is,
Your Honor, also, we've already had extensive arguments about, I am objecting to all hearsay texts between the shooter and his friend that my client and Mr. Crumbley have never seen, and this is one of them.
Your Honor, you've ruled on this several times, and
I vote on this one.
No.
these are the text messages between the shooter and the other individual. You previously ruled it.
I don't recall this one specifically. Was this amongst the ones that was that were ruled on?
Okay, I'm happy to make it, I believe that you have, but if not, I'm happy to make the argument. This is, even if you haven't ruled on it, it's under the exception of the present sense impression. He's picking up a firearm, and in that moment, videoing himself holding it, and then saying, my dad left it out, so I thought, why not?
Well, it's in keeping with 803 1, and yeah, it's consistent with 803 1, isn't it?
Your Honor, I just want to reserve all prior objections until have already been in motions, and I can rely on that.
Thank you. All right, Special Agent, this is People's Exhibit 54. Can you tell the jury what this is?
This is the Google location information for James Crumbley, and it's dated August 19th, 9/29. It's around the time of the first video of the last two that we've seen, and it shows that he's at the Crumbley residence on East Street.
Okay, and the time on that?
It was 9:29 p.m.
Okay, and that's the video of where the couch was in the background?
Correct.
Okay, and then the next exhibit? This is 55, what is this?
This is the Google location information for Jennifer. It also shows that the at East Street address, the Crumbley family residence.
Okay, so in other words, both Jennifer and James were home during the photo with when he was holding the Caltech and there was a couch in the background?
Yes.
Okay, and then 56? This is August 20th, so it's the 12:32 where the video was taken and the text, my dad left it out?
Yes.
Okay, and this shows what?
This shows that James Crumbley, the Gmail account associated with James Crumbley, was at the East Street family residence, Crumbley family residence,
Okay, at 1:30 in the morning,
at 12:30
or
in the
12:30
morning.
in the morning, sorry. All right, and the next slide, 57?
This is the same thing. It's Google location information for Jennifer's account, and it shows that she was at the Crumbley family residence at 12:21 a.m. that day as well, during the time, around the time of the video.
Okay, thank you. All right, I want to draw your attention to Exhibit 58. September 1st, 2021, this is a message between who?
This is a message between James Crumbley and Jennifer Crumbley on Facebook.
Okay, and the time is 4:56 p.m.?
Yes.
And what does the message say?
Ethan and I are headed to gun range.
Okay. And what are these special agent? This is Exhibits 59 and 60, but can you tell the jury what they are?
Yes, so these are receipts for that day for James Crumbley. It's range time, targets, as well as renting a Ruger LCR 22 caliber revolver and paying for 22 caliber ammunition.
And this is a video, Exhibit 61 of that same day?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, and I want to, that's People's 61, and then I want to draw your attention to September 25th. Did either defendant go to a shooting, did this defendant go to a shooting range in Clarkston?
September 25th, I believe, I don't recall, but I believe it was just James and Ethan that went.
So it wasn't this defendant?
No.
Okay. Were you able to determine whether or not she was aware they were at the range?
Yes.
And how do you know that?
I believe it was the same thing through Facebook messages.
Okay, and this is 62, and this is a receipt. What was the receipt for?
This was range fee, ammunition for 9mm, a rental of a 9mm pistol, as well as 22 caliber ammunition and targets.
In all of the videos you were able to obtain and observe, is this the first range video using a 9mm?
This is the first that I could find, yes.
That we know of?
Yes.
Okay, all right. And this is 63. What are we looking at, Special Agent?
So that's James Crumbley in the white sweatshirt and gray baseball hat, and then the shooter is behind him wearing a light gray sweatshirt, dark pants, Nike shoes, and a black hat.
Special Agent, we see two firearms there, correct?
Correct.
Okay, what, if you can tell what kind of handgun?
So I believe the handgun that the shooter is picking up now is the Caltech, and then the other one was one that they appeared to rent, or to, if they were looking to purchase a firearm, sometimes that the range will let you test it out before you purchase it.
So the one to the right of the shooter, what is that, if you know?
I can't say for certain. The footage is a little grainy.
Okay. Can you tell the jury what he's doing right now, if you know?
I believe he's having trouble with the firearm discharging. He appears to be having some type of malfunction that he's not able to clear on his own.
Okay, I want to draw your attention then to exhibit October 3rd of 2021, exhibit 64. What is this?
This is a Facebook message from James Crumbley to Jennifer Crumbley at 12:01 p.m. that says, "Cool, just got cleaning our guns, leaving for range in a few."
Okay, that's 64, and then,
Wait, I'm sorry, Your Honor, can we just slow down for 1 second, because the exhibits I was given have more content, I just need to,
we'll go as slow as you'd like.
Okay, this is.
We-
this is
we-
okay,
64.
I thank
We
you.
separated them to make it easier to read one message at a time.
I understand, but this is different than what you provided me, and I just need to make sure I'm keeping up, so thank you.
I'm happy to go at any pace you'd like.
Thank you,
Okay, so this is exhibit 64.
thank you, and I'm caught up.
Okay.
Okay, sorry,
Okay.
It's all right, it's all right.
All right.
It's a lot of information.
it's a lot of information.
65, what is that, Special Agent?
That's a receipt for the gun range in Clarkston, dated October 3rd, 2021, for range time, targets, and .22 caliber ammunition.
Okay. All right. Was this the last documented visit before November 26th that we had?
Yes.
Okay, let's go to November 26th. What day was November 26th? What's significant about that day?
That was the date that James Crumbley purchased the 6-hour SP 2022 pistol for the shooter.
Okay, and that was the day after Thanksgiving?
Yes.
Okay. This has been previously admitted, this is the receipt for the SIG, correct?
Yes.
People's 28, and that was paid in cash, and the amount is $519.35. I don't mean to lead, I'm just trying to do this to make it easier to understand.
Yeah,
I
this
have,
is-
I have no objection to that.
Yeah, that's our deal.
Okay, and on the 26th, when this occurred, this has also been previously admitted. This is the purchaser's information. We've already talked about that. This was, I'm not sure if it was admitted, but it was shown in the opening. I believe there's no objection to it.
Yeah,
What-
it's admitted.
Okay.
66.
Again, for the jury, this is the SIG, correct?
Yes, what's depicted in that picture is the 6-hour pistol, yes.
Okay. And when did Jennifer post about? I'm sorry. Excuse me. This is not Jennifer's post. This is the shooter's post. This is a different post. This wasn't the one at the opening. I apologize if I'm confusing anybody. It's just a lot. And what does this say?
So this is an Instagram post by the shooter that says, "Just got my new beauty today, 6-hour 9mm. Ask any questions, I will answer."
Special Agent, were you able to determine, based on the forensic evidence of the phones, whether or not Jennifer Crumbley followed the shooter's Instagram account?
Yes, she did.
Okay, so this account where he posted, she followed it. We can't say she saw it, but we know she followed it.
Correct, yes.
Okay, and that is a picture of the SIG?
Yeah, so the first picture was the 6-hour in the pistol box. And then the second picture is the shooter holding the firearm. It appears to be inside the Crumbley family residence, based on the floor. And then there's the shooter again holding the firearm with the sights aimed in. As you can see, the 3 dots are aligned.
I'm so sorry, what number is that?
It's all part of 66.
66?
This is Instagram post from November 26, 2021.
Okay, thank you. So 66 then has multiple pictures.
Yeah, it's,
Okay,
it's, the,
thank you.
it's the one Instagram account that we know is in common.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, yeah.
I just want to make sure.
But when it's in piecemeal, I can't tell what's, the number's not on the screen, so
Right.
Right.
I was wondering.
that's why I'm having a hard time, so, sorry.
Yeah.
to take a break, Your Honor?
Never.
Sorry.
I was looking for the natural break, so.
Okay.
This, yeah, I don't think, this is the fine time. There's about probably 30 minutes left of this.
Oh, okay, so, yeah,
Well, sorry about that.
I was waiting until cross-examination.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm with you. All right, so, a few things. You can discuss your testimony with anyone right now, because you're still on the stand.
Understood, Your Honor.
But we can step out, and we will come back at 3:15. How's that? All right?
All rise for the jury. so, Your Honor, because one of the exhibits that still has to be played is half an hour long.
Oh, really? Okay.
There's a video.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Hi. I don't want to make you nervous. I want to tell you that we really appreciate your note. That's exactly what you're supposed to do. All right, that's why we have alternates in case something comes up. So really, my only question for you is whether or not the fact that you might have met this person, this ATF agent, mentioned by Brandon, you knew him in 2005 or 2006.
Yeah, actually, when I knew this individual, he was working with Detroit Police Department.
Okay.
At either the 6th or 8th precinct.
Okay, so did you ever have a beer together?
No.
Okay, and is there anything about the fact that his name was mentioned that would make you have difficulty being fair and impartial in this case?
No.
Okay, we appreciate your note. I know that this is, yeah, so,
I want to make sure.
okay, I appreciate that. Do you have any questions for him?
No, I don't, and we have no objection to him remaining.
Okay,
No questions, thank you.
okay, I appreciate your note. You can be seated if you want. We're gonna bring your friends in, so. Yeah, go ahead. Are you agent? Is it your title?
Special agent.
Special
Agent.
agent.
Special agent. All right, for the jury?
Okay, you need to be seated. Is your right hand solo?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, we have an opportunity, my co-counsel and I, to reorganize so that we can do this as efficiently as possible. Special Agent, I'd like to direct your attention to Exhibit 66, I'm sorry. This is the Instagram post of the shooter, and you already testified earlier that Instagram account was followed by Jennifer Crumbley. Is there anything about this image that you want to remark on in terms of what you see and what you don't see?
Yes, so in the image is the 6-hour 9mm pistol. There's one magazine inserted into the firearm. There's also an empty magazine next to the firearm on the right-hand side. In the image, there is not the ATF pamphlet or the cable lock that was sold with the firearm.
And then and I believe 66 is already admitted, and 67? What is this, Special Agent?
This is a picture from Jennifer Crumbley's cell phone taken, I believe, 30 to 40 minutes after, it was around 6:38, 6:40 p.m. on the 26th.
The day the gun was purchased?
Correct. And this is a picture of the 6-hour is the bottom pistol with a magazine inserted. The top pistol is the Keltec 22 caliber pistol, and then there are the 2 6-hour magazines, the ATF pamphlet, and a cable lock with a key inserted and a second key attached.
And this was previously admitted, this cable lock, it's People's 39. Can you testify about whether or not this is similar or the same? Can you tell that?
I would say that it is similar. The exact same words and instructions are on the pamphlet and on the, call that I don't know if it's a sticker that's attached to the bottom by the lock there.
This right here?
Correct, but I've had an opportunity to review the words on both, and they do match up.
Okay. And you see the pamphlet in that picture?
Yes.
And Jennifer Crumbley took that photo the day the gun was purchased, and you said around 6:30?
It was between 6:30 and 6:40 p.m., I believe.
Okay, thank you. I want to go to now the next day. That would be the Saturday. The 26th was Friday after Thanksgiving. The 27th was Saturday. Did you have the opportunity to review surveillance video from a gun range in Clarkston?
Yes.
And do you know about what time that surveillance began? In other words, who's the surveillance of?
It shows Jennifer Crumbley and the shooter entering the gun range, paying for range time, the targets, and 9mm ammunition, 100 rounds of it, and then they proceed to take turns firing the 6-hour pistol.
Okay, so do you recall about the time they arrived there?
It was approximately 1 o'clock p.m.
Okay. So the receipt is for, you said 100 rounds?
Yes, they bought 2 50-round boxes of Patriot Defense 9mm ammunition.
Okay, and so the only firearm that ammunition is for is the shooter's Christmas gift, the SIG?
Yes, out of the firearms in their home, it would only be utilized in that one specific firearm, yes.
Okay, and the previous receipts that we've admitted into evidence that you obtained, is there any record of any purchase of a 9mm ammunition before this day?
Not that I found, no.
Okay, so in terms of the evidence you obtained, this is the first time and only time you saw a purchase of 9mm ammunition?
Correct.
Okay, and who was at the range with the shooter?
Jennifer Crumbley.
Were you looking at the phone evidence and the forensic evidence from the phones able to determine where James Crumbley was that day?
Yes, I believe he was door dashing during the daytime hours that day.
He was a DoorDash driver, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And I want to draw your attention to the actual surveillance video, which is Exhibit 71. We are not going to play the entire video, Your Honor, although the entire video will be admitted into evidence and the jury can view it. So we're going to try to focus on the most relevant parts, and then the entire video is in evidence.
You can play the video
Yeah,
if you want.
got it, thank you.
Okay.
Okay. What are we looking at, Special Agent?
So that's Jennifer Crumbley had just arrived and placed the 6-hour pistol box on the display case there, and the shooter is standing over her shoulder.
Okay, Special Agent, we're going to fast forward. That you've already identified that gun case as the SIG case and not this no, that it's this one, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So at this point, if you know, where is the gun?
So the handgun is in the 6-hour pistol case with the 2 boxes of ammunition sitting on top.
Okay, and Jennifer Crumbley is handling those.
Yes.
Okay. And what are they doing now?
They're putting on ear protection before entering the range.
The previous footage shown of Jennifer Crumbley at the shooting range, do you remember, did she have ear protection on?
Yes.
Okay. Special Agent, can you explain to the jury what's happening right now, if you know?
Yeah, right now, the shooter is loading ammunition into the magazines.
Now, at this point, he had the gun for 1 day?
Yes, approximately around exactly 24 hours.
Okay. And do you see a lock anywhere in that case, or next to the gun or the case?
No.
Special Agent, I do have a question while we're viewing this. Are all of the visits and purchases stored on surveillance in ranges and licensed firearm dealers?
So in this particular gun range, there is surveillance camera equipment. I don't believe it went back past September 25th, which is why there wasn't surveillance video for the previous visits.
Okay. So what's happening right now?
So that is the 6-hour pistol. I'm going to call that the stand, as well as a loaded magazine. And now the shooter is placing a target on the cardboard before sending it back down range.
So just for the record, the shooter's already, were you able to tell how many rounds he shot?
It depends on how full the magazine was, but if he had a full magazine, it would have been 15 rounds once he loaded in the firearm that he discharged.
Okay. And can you tell the jury what's happening now?
Yep, so now he brings a new target over for Jennifer Crumbley, and then he affixes it to the cardboard and then sends it downrange.
So it seems both of them are struggling at this point, as he did before. What are they trying to do? He had the same trouble.
So initially he had trouble inserting a magazine. This is different. He's trying to explain to her how to send the slide forward by pressing sending the slide release and sending it forward to chamber around from the magazine. And that's that action right there.
So Jennifer Crumbley took her turn at firing the SIG. Were you able to tell whether it was just, it seemed like just a few rounds?
Yeah, it was just a few rounds. It was a partially loaded magazine that was inserted into the firearm.
Okay. And then, I know you have viewed this several times. At this point, the shooter does another, I don't know how many rounds.
Just let the witness answer the questions and just be asked, not leading.
I'm just really just trying to make things easy and more understandable. And we're going to fast
Well,
forward.
okay, so you're gonna fast forward. What happens next? What happens next?
So I think they exchange turns one more time, shooting at the target, and then I believe it's only one more time each, and then they depart from the range.
Okay. All right, you're fast forwarding to when they're both completed. You think did they both shoot more rounds, or just the shooter, if you know?
I'm not certain if Jennifer shot more rounds or not. I know the shooter takes another turn this time around. I don't know exactly how many more times Jennifer shoots.
Do you know how many rounds total were left when they were finished shooting?
So they discard an empty box of 50 rounds of the 9mm ammunition into a trash can, and then exit with only one box of 50 rounds. So when they departed, they only had the 50-round full box of Patriot Defense 9mm ammunition.
Okay. And we can fast forward to that part. We're going to try.
And I understand why they want to present this to an extent, but to me, it doesn't prove anything. I mean, just the mere presence of her taking him to a gun range. I mean, obviously, going to a gun range is a responsible place to be using your firearms. So I don't understand why the state believes, obviously they're going to tie in the fact that he was mentally not fit to be handling guns. But this to me is such, I've seen nothing yet that ties her in to being a negligent parent besides the fact that she tried to, participate in something her son was interested in. The father was responsible for the guns. They were his guns. So how that translates to her, I mean, that's a dangerous slippery slope to suggest every, spouse is responsible for the, mistake, the recklessness of another spouse. I mean, you have to prove she knew or she had an opportunity to cure it. So, I mean, this to me, so far, all you've seen is a case that's just inflame. It's just designed to inflame the jury. I mean, this would be relevant in his case, but I don't see why this even is relevant in this case. I mean, I guess the judge obviously made these rulings, but the whole legal premise of this case making it this far to trial is to me absolutely scary with the way the state is trying to rationalize it.
Special agent, is that where she just, the ammunition started?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. And this is the picture of the target that was posted. You know, was that ever recovered?
Yes, there was targets in the shooter's bedroom. I don't recall exactly if it was Mrs. Crumbley's target or not. I know Ethan, the shooter's target was one of them, I believe.
And can you tell the jury what he's doing now?
Right now, he's trying to put the 6-hour pistol and 3 pistol magazines into the case and close it.
Are the magazines full or empty, or can you tell?
They're empty.
And what does it look like to you is happening?
So the shooter's just trying to rearrange the pistol box so that it closes properly and can fully clamp with those that we demonstrated earlier, the opening of the clamps.
The latch?
The latches, yes.
So Jennifer Crumbley's carrying the case with the SIG inside of it.
Yes.
And do you see, is the shooter carrying anything?
Yes, he has the targets as well as the box of 9mm pistol ammunition.
Okay. And based on your investigation and all the physical evidence and digital evidence, was this the last known image of this weapon before it was used to kill the students in Oxford High School?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I'd like to draw your attention to Exhibit 72. Can you tell the jury what this is?
This is an Instagram post by Jennifer Crumbley on the date that they went to the range later that evening. That says, "Took my new SIG out to the range
I
today."
just want to stop you. This is actually...
I'm sorry.
Okay. Whose Instagram post is this?
Sorry, this is the shooter's Instagram.
Okay.
It was posted later that evening. Said, "Took my new SIG out to the range today. Definitely need to get used to the new sights. LOL."
And could you tell when that was posted?
Yes, 1902 on the date they went to the range meeting, 27th, the day after Thanksgiving,
Okay, and what time is that for?
7:02 p.m.
It's UTC -5, so is it 7 or is it...
I'm sorry, that is in UTC. So at the time of this, it would be around 2 o'clock, 2:02 p.m.
2:02? Can you tell the jury what UTC minus...
Yeah, so
What am I talking about when I say that?
it's just the universal time. So that is like the time in the Eastern time zone is either -4 or -5, depending on the time of year, daylight savings time.
Okay, so that is 72, and then I'm gonna, do you know, by the way, where Jennifer Crumbley was when this was posted? If you know.
I believe she was still home at this point.
And I want to draw your attention to 73. What is this?
This is the Instagram post by Jennifer Crumbley of the target with Mom and Sunday testing out his new Christmas present. My first time shooting a 9mm. I hit the bullseye. This was posted about a minute later than the shooter's Instagram post.
So his post was 2:02 and hers was 2:03?
Yes.
Okay, and there's more than just this post, correct?
There's 3 images within the one post, yes.
Okay. So it's the same text, but 3 different images?
Yes.
Okay, and this, what is this picture of?
So this is the third image. The first was the main target, then there was a zoom in of the bullseye, and then there was this image, which was of the firearm in the case with 2 pistol magazines and the ATF Youth Handgun Safety Act notice beneath it.
Do you know where James Crumbley was during this time? Was he still doing DoorDash deliveries?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know at some point whether or not Jennifer Crumbley left the house that day when they returned from the range?
Yes, she did.
Okay, do you know about what time?
It was around, I believe it was around 2:30, or it could, I know there was a Facebook message around 2:30 sent that she was shopping, so I don't know exactly what time she left, but I know she left after that Instagram post.
Okay, and do you know when she returned?
It was around 5:30 p.m.
Okay.
You know, I might be confusing Jennifer and James on that timing that Jennifer returned home
Okay,
for that.
it's okay.
Yeah.
We have another witness that we'll testify about it. Just one moment, Your Honor. All right, I want to draw your attention to a previously, I believe it's previously admitted, 74, exhibit 74. All right, and if we could zoom in on the drawing of the firearm in that diagram. We've already, well, tell the jury when you first saw this worksheet.
I first saw this worksheet when I was at Oxford High School on November 30th, 2021, responding to the shooting.
Okay, and what's your understanding about who drew those things and when?
It was my understanding that the shooter drew them earlier in the day, and I have to say that I saw an image of this worksheet, which is probably the same image. And it was, like I said, during my time responding to school.
Okay, Special Agent, what, if anything, caught your attention about this drawing?
There were several things, specifically with the firearm. After recovering it and looking at it, inspecting it, it appeared to be the same firearm recovered from that the shooter used to commit the shooting, the 6-hour 9mm pistol.
Okay, can you explain to the jury why you believe that?
Yes. So when you look at the image, the back of the. Do you mind if I pick up the actual?
Go ahead.
Okay.
But you're gonna have to stand so the jury can see it.
So when you look at the back of the slide, there's serrations at the back of the slide here. I should turn this way. So there's serrations at the back of the slide in the same location that they are in the picture. The shape of the trigger guard of the picture appeared to be the same shape, as well as the magazine. The SIG magazine is unique in that it has this lip at the front. And when inserting the firearm, it creates this secondary kind of, it's not flush with the firearm, right? There's this
Your Honor,
lip.
sorry,
Can you
turn to her so we can
move my
see
chair
her?
back? Yeah, there we go.
Sorry, I can't see what you're.
Yep, no problem. So there's a lip in the front of the firearm here when the magazine's inserted. And when I looked at the picture, it appeared to be that was what was drawn at the bottom, where you see that lip.
Did you see anything else about the drawing that was notable?
Yes, the ammunition appeared to be, after working this case and reviewing the image, and knowing the caliber of firearms in the Crumbley home, it appeared that ammunition was not .22 ammunition, for the simple fact that the cylinder at the bottom on a .22 long rifle round of ammunition is not flush. It creates almost like a cylinder at the bottom, if you could picture it, and it wouldn't be flush with the with the round. So instead of it just being a circle like this, where you have a circle like that, it would be that there are parts of edge sticking out around it, so to speak. There would be an edge drawn further around the bottom of that round of ammunition, and it's much thinner.
Okay, and I'm going to approach and show you the previously admitted picture of the other firearm that the Crumblies owned that's most similar to, what's not here that's on the SIG that makes you think that the drawing was of the SIG? How are these two different?
So additionally, on the SIG,
And tell me how I should hold this, it doesn't look like I'm pointing at you.
take that from you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So when you look at the SIG here, there's an ejection port on this side, on the right side of the firearm, similar to the one drawn in the picture. The only other magazine-fed pistol in their residence at the time did not have an ejection port on either side of the firearm because it's concealed by the slide.
Nothing better for the second one here.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Afternoon?
As you know, I think you've been in court, sitting back here, correct?
Correct.
Okay, I'm Shannon, I represent Ms. Crumbley. If I ask you any questions confusing, please let me know, please.
Understood.
Thank you. Special Agent Brandon, would that be the correct way?
Yes.
Okay, to address you, thank you. You were testifying that you are familiar with the state and federal laws regarding guns, correct?
No, that's not correct. I stated that I was familiar with the federal laws to purchase a firearm, and in some of those investigations in purchasing firearms, some of the state laws come into play.
Okay, in terms of, and if you don't know the answer, please let me know. If you do know the answer, let us know, and please answer the question. Back on November 30th of 2021, it was not illegal, and it still is not illegal, for a minor to touch a gun, correct?
It is not against federal law for a minor to touch a firearm in certain instances, no.
Okay, it is not against the law for a minor to shoot a gun at a gun range. It wasn't then, and it's not illegal now, correct?
It is not against federal law for a minor to go to a gun range to shoot a firearm, no.
Okay, and as far as you know, it's not against state law either, correct?
Yeah, as far as I know, especially from this investigation, I know that it's not against state law, yes.
Okay. On November 30th of 2021, there also is no law, federal law, that requires certain storage requirements for guns, correct?
Inside of your residence?
Yes.
There's not a federal law that forces anyone to store their firearms in a certain way, no.
And as far as you know, on November 30th of 2021, there also is not a state law that states how a firearm must be stored, correct?
It's my understanding based on this investigation that at the time there was not a law governing how to store a firearm in a home, no.
Okay. Now, you testified and talked to this jury about how there are various ways guns can be stored safely, correct?
Yes.
And one of the possible ways is in a gun safe, correct?
Yes.
And the Kel-Tec and Derringer gun, they were in a gun safe in the Crumbley home.
That's correct.
Another way that a gun another way of making a gun safe is with a cable lock, correct?
Yes.
And a cable lock is it almost looks like a bike lock that loops through the gun to make it impossible to shoot when it's locked, correct?
Yes.
And in order to disable or take the cable lock off, you have to have a key, correct?
I would say that's one of the ways to take it off, yes.
Okay, so that would be the way that most people would take it off is by using a key that works with that lock, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And I want to go to exhibit 38, which I'm going to put up on my screen, but I need to switch it over. And I apologize. Mr. Badman, can you help me, please?
Oh, yes.
I just am not sure I've shifted over. Okay, so I'm going to exhibit 38. It's this thing. Okay, I've got it plugged in. Oh, I did better than I thought it would. Okay, so this is exhibit 38. This has been admitted. This was admitted through the people when you testified before. This is the trigger lock statement. You recall testifying about this, correct?
Yes.
And when a sale of a gun is made, this form is filled out and given to the person filled out by the person buying the gun, correct?
Correct.
And it's signed, in this form specifically, it's signed by James Crumbley and Cammie Back being the person who sold the gun, correct?
Yes.
And this form is to help ensure that there is safety in this process of guns being sold, correct?
I'm not sure what the congressional intent is on this, and that's not something I can testify about.
Okay, thank you. You would agree with me that the sale must include a trigger lock or a gun case or a storage container that can be secured, correct?
No, it says a trigger lock or other device design, which in this instance would be the cable lock or a gun case or storage container.
Okay, so, I'm sorry, so it could be a trigger lock, it could be a cable lock, it could be a gun case, it could be a storage container, there's options.
Yes.
And when you testified about the 3 guns that we've seen in this courtroom, you testified about the Derringer, the Kel-Tec, and the Sig Sauer, correct?
Yes.
And you were testifying that the caliber on those guns, that the Sig Sauer has the biggest caliber, correct?
Yes, it's a larger
Out
caliber.
of the 3 of those.
Yes.
Okay. And by nature, with those 3 guns in mind, that means the Sig Sauer can do more damage than the other 2 guns, the Kel-Tec or the Derringer, correct?
I believe what I said is that it just makes a bigger hole, but yes, what you're saying is, yeah, that it would cause more damage, yes.
Okay. And a 9mm is not this is going to sound like a terrible question, but is not the largest millimeter there are guns that are bigger and stronger, correct?
Yes.
What other guns could create even more damage or even larger holes?
I mean, there's a lot of calibers that are larger than 9. I don't know that you want me to list them all right now, but there are more calibers that do cause more damage, that do fire a bigger round than a 9mm.
A 357?
Yes.
A 45?
Yes.
A 50?
50 caliber?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, approximately how many other kinds of, would you guess, how many other?
I'm not going to guess. I mean, there's a lot of calibers of firearm. There are several that are larger caliber than a 9mm.
When you say
There's not
some-
many that are larger than a 9 as a semi-automatic handgun. There's a few, I would say, not a ton.
Okay, so a 9mm is not the most destructive gun you can buy, but it's a gun that a person can buy.
A 9mm is a gun a person can buy, yes.
Okay. You testified about I'm going to go to Exhibit 37. You testified about this ATF pamphlet, Youth Handgun Safety Act Notice, correct?
Yes.
You would agree with me that everyone knows guns are dangerous, correct?
I would hope so, yes.
It does not take getting a pamphlet to know that a gun is a weapon. That's common knowledge, correct?
Yes.
Whether that pamphlet is in the box, on the counter, on the floor, in the car, it's common knowledge that a gun is a serious, dangerous weapon, correct?
Yes, but that's not the purpose of this pamphlet.
Well, the purpose of this pamphlet is to make sure youths with handgun is especially dangerous, correct?
Yes.
And that also is fairly common sense, correct?
I don't know how to answer that question, being that it's like the #1 cause of death for children, that firearms are the #1 cause of death for kids. So I don't know how to answer that question.
Well, my point is, we know guns are dangerous. We know they're dangerous when youths handle guns. It doesn't change whether it's a youth or an adult, correct?
I think that if they wanted to have a pamphlet that said the Person Safety Act notice, they would have. It says youth for a reason. I think that there's a special category for that.
But any person would know that youth handling a gun, it would be dangerous.
I would hope so.
Okay. We saw a lot of exhibits showing that there were trips to the gun range, and we can agree that there is no doubt James Crumbley and Ethan Crumbley like guns or are interested in guns, correct?
It appears so from the evidence, yes.
You showed this jury evidence of them of James Crumbley purchasing the 3 weapons, correct?
Yes.
We've shown this jury text messages between Mr. Crumbley and Mrs. Crumbley showing that that Mr. Crumbley and Ethan Crumbley, the shooter, are going to gun ranges, correct?
I'm sorry, I got a little distracted.
I am so sorry.
That's okay.
You're like in a choke. Excuse me, I'm so sorry.
That's fine.
You want a cough drop?
I need like just something.
This attorney is a mess. I mean, what in the heck?
Thanks. Sorry, excuse me. I'm so sorry. Okay, we can agree James Crumbley and his son are interested in guns.
Yes.
We can agree they would go to the gun range, they would go shooting together.
Yes.
Okay, you have some evidence of some various trips they took to the gun range, but it's possible there's many, many more trips that Mr. Crumbley and his son took to the gun range, correct?
That's possible, yes.
What you're testifying to this jury is not limited to the only experiences we can say the shooter has ever had at a gun range.
That's fair, yes.
And there's one occasion back in the summer of 2021 when Jennifer Crumbley is with her husband and son at the gun range, and we see her shooting in the video, correct?
Yes.
And aside from that, the only other time we see Jennifer Crumbley at the gun range is on the day after the Sig Sauer was purchased, when she's with this half-an-hour long video we watched with the shooter, correct?
Yes.
And as we watched that video, on that occasion, we can agree James Crumbley is not there with them, correct?
Yes.
And when Jennifer Crumbley walks in, she's carrying the case that has the gun in it, correct?
Yes.
She goes up to the counter, purchases ammunition, and she carries it over to the area where they shoot. Is that fair to say?
Yes, she purchased the ammunition. I'm not clear on who picked out how much ammunition. There was a time that that the shooter made a 2 with his finger, and I can't be certain if he was talking about the ammunition boxes or the targets.
Okay, so they end up in the area where you shoot, and it appears to me, although I've never been to a range, you put the gun in the spot where the person stands to actually shoot it, correct?
Yes.
And then it appears to me, but please tell me if I'm wrong, that you load the magazines with the ammunition on the counter behind, when the gun is sitting away from you, correct?
Yes, that's generally been my experience at private ranges, yes.
And in these videos that we saw, it's apparent that the shooter has knowledge of how to load those magazines with the ammunition, correct?
Yes.
He is the one loading those magazines with the ammunition, not Mrs. Crumbley.
No, there was a point at one time when Mrs. Crumbley was putting rounds and her arm was moving. Obviously, the angle's sideways, so you can't see, but there was a time when she was loading. I don't think she loaded all the magazines, but I think she did load a few rounds.
Okay, and when we see the video of the shooter shooting the weapon, he obviously knows how to shoot the weapon and is shooting the weapon at the target, correct?
Yes.
And when Mrs. Crumbley comes up and takes her turn, Mom's having her turn with the weapon, there's some very obvious conversation going on between herself and the shooter, back and forth between the two of them, correct?
Yes.
And it appears from the video, I believe that you said the shooter is explaining something to her.
Yes, I think he was explaining how to send the slide forward to chamber around. She was having trouble. She got the magazine in, but then couldn't get the slide to go forward.
Okay, and that was in the first, she took 2 turns essentially at the range, correct?
Yes.
And in the first turn she took, that's when she's having trouble with the slide? Is
Yes.
that- okay. And when we see Mrs. Crumbley take her second turn, we see her turn back and have to call the shooter over to explain something else to her in trying to figure out how to hold the gun, correct?
Yeah, it seemed like he was trying to explain how to properly grip the firearm, yes.
Okay. And we can agree that in the videos from this shooting range at Accurate with Mrs. Crumbley and other ranges, it's clear the shooter has been given experience shooting at ranges and knows how to operate these weapons, correct?
Yes.
You also showed this jury evidence that on one other occasion, Mr. Crumbley and the shooter rented a 9mm gun.
Yes.
And on that day, obviously, the shooter shot the 9mm gun, correct?
I don't recall from the video that we have of that if he shot it or not. I believe, I would assume he did, but I can't say for certain.
It would be weird if you rented a gun and didn't shoot it.
I agree.
Okay. And you don't know if there's other trips that Mr. Crumbley took with the shooter where they may have rented 9mm guns on other occasions, correct?
If it was to this specific range, I would know about it based on the receipts, but if not, then no. If it was a different range, then it's possible, yes.
The range that you checked with was the one in Clarkston, correct?
Yes.
There are a number of gun ranges, though, in the area, and it's fair to say you did not check with all of those ranges.
Not all of them, the ones in close proximity to the house, yes. But at the time, it was winter, so a lot of the outdoor ranges, it had snowed the weekend before. A lot of the outdoor ranges either were snowed, there was too much snow, but yes, as far as the indoor ranges in the area, that's the closest.
Okay. In addition to these guns and going to this indoor range, you were at the Crumbley home during the time the search warrant was executed, correct?
Yes.
And if you do not know the answer to this, you can let us know. During the search warrant that was executed, you observed that the shooter had a number of BB guns, correct?
Yes.
And BB guns are not on the same level of danger as these 3 weapons, these 3 guns you've testified about, correct?
I mean, they can be dangerous, but are they a firearm? No.
Okay. So, and you also, I'm sure, observed that in the backyard at the Crumbley's home, they had targets set up where BB guns could be shot in the backyard, correct?
Yes.
So it's a very fair assumption to say that the shooter was interested in BB guns, target practice, these guns, going to the shooting range.
Yes.
And the point of these questions is to show that this mother would have had no reason to think he's going to do a school shooting, that he was just a child interested in guns, which I'm told in that area, in that particular area of Michigan, wasn't unusual.
There was a cable lock in the Keltec gun box in the kitchen.
So therefore, where do you get to the reckless part? Where do you get to the part that she would have thought, oh, my son's going to do a school shooting? Most parents wouldn't think that, I don't think.
The lock was not on the Keltec or the Derringer. There wasn't a cable lock on that one. Those 2 were secured in a gun safe.
Yes, with the combination of 000, but yes.
Okay, and when you testified about the combination being 000, that was the combination that you said the manufacturer, that would be the default.
Yes.
And that combination can be changed by people when they get the gun, correct?
When they get the safe, yes, they can change the combination.
And you have no knowledge of what the combination was at the time that James and Jennifer Crumbley had that safe in the home. All you know is the time you saw the safe, the combination was 000, correct?
I know that the safe was unlocked at the house by law enforcement using the code 000.
Did you unlock the safe at the house, or is that You were not the person that unlocked that safe though, correct?
No, you asked me the question. I said I know it was unlocked with that, but I was not present when it was unlocked, but I know that that's the combination to the safe, and it has not been changed since.
Okay. You did not watch law enforcement open the safe.
No,
You did not watch law enforcement turn the numbers on the safe.
no,
You believe that the numbers law enforcement used were 000, but you do not have personal knowledge that 000 opened that safe, correct?
I did not physically observe it, no.
And it's fair to say that those guns, that Kel-Tec and that Derringer, were purchased in June of 2021, correct?
Yes.
And there is no claim in this case that the shooter ever took those two guns or took them out of the house or took those to school, anything along those lines, correct?
Not out of the house, no.
In terms of, Your Honor, are we gonna go till 5 or what's the
Well,
word?
I have special permission,
Okay, so,
but I would like to, can we finish this witness time? Can we finish this witness today?
Your Honor, there were so many exhibits, I don't think we can. And,
Okay, we can go till 5, right? You guys okay going till 5?
okay.
Yeah.
You testified, okay, so let's go to some of the exhibits if we can. I'm gonna go to exhibit 52. Was this, it appears to be conversation by messages back and forth. And it shows the shooter holding the Kel-Tec, correct?
This one shows him loading the Kel-Tec, that video that you have it on now, yes.
I'm sorry, it shows him loading the Kel-Tec. And this video was from back in August of 2021, correct?
Yes.
And you testified that obviously this video shows the shooter holding the Kel-Tec. And let's see here, the video was admitted also. Let me just get to the video. Okay, so this is the video. I'm just gonna play it, it's 12 seconds. This is exhibit 51. Okay, so this video shows the shooter loading the Kel-Tec.
This one was an empty slide. You sent the slide forward on this video, yes.
Okay,
I'm
I'm so
just-
bad with these
yeah.
guns. Yeah, please correct me. So this one is him doing what, sending the slide forward?
Yes, there was no ammunition in the firearm, I don't believe there was even a magazine inserted. He just sent the slide forward in this video. It was like a black leather, looks like a couch or something like that below it.
Okay, and in this video, you have no idea if there are other people around him.
No,
The video is focused on the gun in the shooter's hand, correct?
yes,
And this video was sent by text message over to a friend of the shooter's. Is that correct?
yes.
And while we don't see any people in this video, we don't know if Mr. or Mrs. Crumbley were present at the time the shooter is taking this video.
We know that they were in the home at the time, but we don't know exactly where they were in the home, no.
Okay, so we know they're at home at the time the shooter's in the home making this video and sending it to a friend, correct?
Yes,
And as much as, this video, him doing this, the shooter doing this, is not illegal, correct?
no.
It's not,
It's not illegal. I mean, I can't say.
I'm not gonna say it's a good idea.
Right. I mean, under federal law, it wouldn't be illegal. You're in your own home, and I don't know where his parents are at the time either, though. So I can't really comment whether it was legal or not on what he's doing with the firearm.
okay, right, we don't know. All we have is this little 12-second video with no context, correct?
But I think the context was the text message that says my dad left his gun out. So it seems odd to send a text message if your dad was around while you filmed it,
Okay.
or your parents, I should say.
We know dad is in the home at the time this video is made, correct?
Yes, both Jennifer and James. Yes,
We know mom is in the home at the time this video is made, correct?
yes.
This home we're talking about, there will be other,
Can you excuse me for 1 second?
Sure.
I'm sorry.
all you can do is read the text. And their testimony was that the shooter sent the text that said, my dad left this out. Or I'm sorry, yeah, my dad left it out, correct?
Yes.
It does not say my mom left it out.
It does not.
It specifically says my dad.
Yes,
And at the end of the day, you don't know the shooter.
I don't know the shooter personally.
Right.
No,
You don't know the shooter's friend.
no.
You don't know other things the shooter and his friend had been talking about that day, correct?
I've reviewed messages between the shooter and his friend for several days, but I don't understand what you're asking there.
I'm asking, you don't know whether, when that statement was sent to his friend, you don't know that that's true, that his dad left the gun out, correct? All you can do is read the text.
I know he sent the text. Yes.
He sent the text, but you don't know that that's true, correct?
I can say I know he sent the text. I don't know exactly where. Yeah, I don't know how to answer that question. I don't know if it's true or not. I don't know if anyone knows it's true or not. But he sent the text.
You are aware that teenagers can embellish things?
I don't have any teenagers.
You were a teenager at some point.
Sure, I don't know that I'm specialized in, teenager behavior.
Okay.
To testify to that.
You would agree with me it's possible for teenagers to embellish to impress their friends?
I would agree, yeah, that it's possible for teenagers to embellish. I think is a fair statement.
It's possible for them to send messages to friends to try to look cool?
It's possible, yes.
It's possible to try to fit in with other people and get people's attention, correct?
I think we're getting into an area that I'm not authorized to testify about as a federal agent right now, honestly. And
Yeah, Your Honor, Special Agent Brandon has very defined parameters about what he can testify to. He has Assistant United States Attorney in the courtroom because he can only testify to certain things. So I would just ask that,
I guess I'm not sure what that means, but.
it means he can't testify about teenage behavior, he can't testify about,
Well, some of that is also argumentative, right? I guess take judicial notice that teenagers embellish things, just for my own, right? We have to, so they talked about that during the jury selection, so he doesn't know. I don't think he was a teenager not long ago, so police officers are looking younger and younger teenagers.
Okay, so the bottom line is, in terms of what's going on in this shooter's mind, and at this time, the Crumbley son's mind, we just don't know. We're not mind readers, correct?
yes,
We do know, though, it's not just based on text messages, that James and Jennifer Crumbley were in the home at the time this video was made, correct?
yes, that's correct.
That is something that you established through actual evidence, and we know they were present in the home.
Yes,
And when we're talking about the Crumbley's home, it's a 900 square foot home, correct?
yes,
It's a small ranch with 3 bedrooms.
yes,
We're not talking a 4,000 square foot, 3-story house, correct?
that's correct.
So we know that all 3 people at the time this video was made were in this 900 square foot home.
Yes,
Same thing with the video that was you testified about a video where you can see the dining room table and you recognize the wood grain as being from their dining room, correct?
yes.
Can you remind me what was happening in that video? I don't want to waste the jury's
Sure,
time, but
yeah.
I think you,
Yeah, so in the video, the shooter loads a loaded pistol magazine into the Keltec and then sends the slide forward, chambering around, which means the firearm is ready to be discharged at that time.
and when that video was taken, that's also a short little video clip, correct?
Yes,
And that video clip also, we do not know who else was present when that video clip was taken.
not in the immediate vicinity around him. No, we know that both Jennifer and James were in the residence there. Yes,
Okay, so James and Jennifer are in the residence when Ethan Crumbley is making this video,
yes,
okay? And we know he made that video, and obviously had it on his phone.
correct.
And we know he sent that video to a friend.
Yes,
And again, we don't really have much more context beyond that, correct?
other than the text message, no.
Well, the text message was from the other,
I think the text message, the videos were sent, and then the text message followed the videos.
I'm sorry, were both of those videos sent at the time when it said my dad left it out?
I think the first video was sent at 9:30, and the second video was sent at like 12:30 a.m., so 4 hours later. But in that chain of text, it's video 9:30, video 12:30, and then the text that said my dad left his left has gone out, LOL,
Okay.
something to that effect.
And you checked to make sure that at 9:30 and at 12:30, both parents were at home, correct?
Yes.
And so he sends these 2 videos, and there's no response from his friend, correct?
I don't recall if there was a response or not. I know that they were sent. There may have been an exchange, but I just know that they were sent to his friend.
Okay, and then he sends another text saying, my dad left this out, correct?
Yes,
Now, we can agree in the text message, or I'm sorry, in the Instagram post, there's reference that this gun was a gift to the shooter, correct?
yes,
You are not a member of the Crumbley family, correct?
no,
You don't know what the terms of that gift are in terms of whether the shooter was allowed to just possess it and have it at all times, or if there were conditions around and rules around that gift, correct?
no. I just know that it was a gift.
Okay. And you don't know if you do not know where that gun was kept, the Sig Sauer was kept, prior to the day you're in the house with law enforcement and the open gun case was on the bed, correct? I'm sorry, it's late in the day, so
Sure.
my questions are getting terrible. Let me back up. When you saw the weapon, the actual weapon, the Sig Sauer, you saw it at the school, correct?
Yes,
And when you went to the parents' home, the gun case was out on the bed, correct?
I believe when I got there, it had been moved to the kitchen at that point.
I'm sorry, it was
Yes.
in the kitchen
Sure,
at
yeah,
that point?
yes.
Okay. And prior to you getting there, you don't know where the gun case had been, where it was moved to, who had moved it, and things like that, correct?
I know based on reviewing the search warrant photographs from the scene that are done prior to searching a residence, that it was on the bed, and the empty box of pistol ammunition next to it when those photographs were taken, that's what I know.
You don't know prior to that day or the night before where that gun was stored in the Crumbley's home, correct?
I don't know myself. I don't have knowledge of that. I know that there's been. I don't know how to answer that question, honestly.
Okay, well, you don't know the answer.
As someone that's been involved in this investigation, as one of the officers in charge, I have reviewed multiple different statements and texts about where it was stored. So I don't know how to quite answer that question because there were various texts and statements about where it was stored from, the defendant's messages and statements and things like that. So I don't know how to answer that question. But do I know for certain where it was stored? The answer to that is no.
Okay, you also don't know whether when the gun, the Sig Sauer, was in the Crumbley home, if they had the cable lock on the Sig Sauer gun.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
When the gun was in the Crumbley's home, in the days following James buying the gun, you don't know if the cable lock was on that gun.
I don't know, other than the 26th, the date that they purchased the firearm. I believe they took photos of it around 1 o'clock p.m. I know
He also doesn't know who was responsible for the key to the
6
lock.
o'clock p.m. with the firearm, with the cable lock still in the bag, not inserted in the gun. So I know that at least when they got home from the firearm store after the purchase, there were photographs taken. There was no cable lock inserted. I know later that night at 6 p.m., so shortly thereafter, between 6 and 6:40, both the shooter and Mrs. Crumbley took photographs on their phone or photos and videos, and the cable lock wasn't inserted. It was still in the bag. That's all I know. I know that at those specific times when those pictures are taken, that the cable lock was not used at those times.
Okay, we can agree on that. Beyond that photograph, the day the gun was purchased, past 6 o'clock that night, you don't know if the cable lock was put on that gun, correct?
I have no evidence whether it was or was not. No.
You also don't know, after 6 o'clock that night, where the gun was placed, correct?
For that specific day, I don't personally know where that gun was that night. No.
You also don't know who was responsible for putting that gun away that night, correct?
I don't know how to answer that question. I guess it's if Mrs. Crumbley is taking a picture of the firearm and she's the only one home, it would be her responsibility to put the firearm away.
The answer is no. How do you not know how to answer that question?
If your answer
That's
was,
an excellent
I know there are
question.
conversations about who's responsible for locking it up at night. Then,
Right, so your
then
answer
yes.
is I don't know. You don't know.
Right.
Okay.
Correct.
And so on the 26th, that night, after 6 p.m., after the photo's taken, we can agree, you don't know if the cable lock got put on, you don't know where the gun was stored, and you don't know who was responsible for storing it, correct?
I don't know how to answer your question because I feel like that if
How do you not know how to answer that question?
I don't know whose responsibility it could be both parents' responsibility. I don't know how to
I mean, he doesn't know. That's the point. He doesn't know.
Senator McGregor, he does have knowledge of all the other evidence, so I think the struggle here is
He knows what was happening at 6 p.m., but.
no, he's reviewed different statements about, so that's where.
He doesn't know. He doesn't know.
That's why I don't want to put words in his mouth, but.
He has other information.
I'm asking him about his personal knowledge, though. I'm not asking him about things other people said, things, okay? All right, so then we go to the 27th. This is the day after the gun was purchased by Mr. Crumbley, correct?
Yes.
Okay, we've obviously talked about Mrs. Crumbley being at the range with the shooter that day, correct?
Yes.
Okay, that night, after Mrs. Crumbley was home, you do know that Mrs. Crumbley and her son went back home, correct?
Yes.
Okay, you don't have personal knowledge of who took the gun from the car they drove into the home, correct?
That's correct.
You don't know if the gun was even brought into the home when Mrs. Crumbley and the shooter arrived back home after the gun range.
That's correct.
You don't know if after coming home from the gun range, the cable lock was put on the gun.
By who? I don't know that the cable lock was placed on the firearm, but if you're saying it appeared the way that Mrs. Crumbley operated the firearm, it would be very difficult for her to lock the slide lever to put the cable lock on.
She appears like she doesn't know what she's doing with the gun, right?
Yes.
Okay. There's no doubt the shooter has a lot more knowledge about this gun than Mrs. Crumbley does.
Yes, that's fair.
Okay. And when Mrs. Crumbley is posting, she's posting that it's her first time shooting a 9mm.
What you're seeing here is the extreme weakness in the state's case against her, because she didn't even really have any responsibility for the firearms.
Mrs. Crumbley's doing something with her son he enjoys, correct?
Yes, he was definitely smiling when he was shooting the firearm, yes.
Okay. And then both Mrs. Crumbley and her son are, comparing targets and talking and interacting with one another, correct?
That's what occurred on the surveillance video, yes.
And once they got home that night, you have no idea if the cable lock was put on the gun.
I do not know. No.
You don't even know if the gun was brought in the house.
No.
You don't know where the gun was kept that night.
No.
And you don't know where the gun was kept in the following day or day after. You don't have personal knowledge of that, correct?
Yes.
And at the end of the day, I'm sorry, scratch that. in terms of the shooter, you have no awareness of whether the shooter has ever had any kind of safety course.
I found no evidence that he had a safety course, no.
You don't, so there is no evidence that you can say, there's no evidence, but that doesn't mean that didn't happen, correct?
Correct.
And you have no evidence about James, whether or not he's ever had a safety course, correct?
I found no evidence of that, no. But I don't,
Okay.
yeah, correct.
So you wouldn't know either way.
It's possible he had a safety course. I personally found no evidence of that.
And when you're talking about this drawing, and I'd like to just put the math paper back up. And I apologize, I believe it was exhibit,
It's 75? No, that was 74.
thank you. Okay, so your testimony was, by looking at this math paper, you believe the gun in exhibit 75 looks like the Sig Sauer weapon, correct?
Yes.
And this math paper was drawn after the shooter had already picked out and had his dad purchase the Sig Sauer, and the family already owned that gun, correct?
Yes.
And that bullet, you believe, looks like a bullet that would be unique to the Sig Sauer gun.
No, that's not what I said. I just said out of the firearms they own in their home, out of the two calibers, it resembles more of a 9mm than a 22.
Okay, but it's just a bullet, right? We can agree
You
the
listed
drawing.
off a lot of calibers earlier. If you ever look at all those rounds, they look vastly different.
All right, so that's a 9mm caliber?
I'm saying it resembles, or could resemble a 9mm caliber. It is definitely a round of pistol ammunition that does not look like a 22.
Okay, these are just drawings that we know the shooter drew at school, correct?
They are drawings that the shooter drew at school, yes. I don't know if I would say just.
They're drawings we know he drew at the school.
Yes.
And you have never discussed these drawings with the shooter, correct?
No.
You were not present when the shooter met with the school counselor about this drawing, correct?
No, I was not.
You were not present when the school shooter met with the principal from the school and talked about this drawing, correct?
I was not present.
You were not present when Mrs. Crumbley and her husband met with the shooter at the school about this drawing.
Correct. I did not get to the school that day until after the shooting occurred.
You did not hear the shooter explain why he put these things on this drawing, correct?
Yes, I did not respond until after the shooting occurred.
Okay. So you've never had a conversation with him where he explained or talked about what he was doing in this drawing, and you've never seen a video of those conversations, correct?
Yes, I believe I said before, I haven't met the shooter before.
Yeah, just a moment, Your Honor.
Sure.
I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Can you do redirect before we leave?
I can. Special Agent Brandon, you were asked some questions about the 9mm and that it isn't the most powerful gun, that there are other guns that could do more damage. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay. Would you acknowledge, though, that it's much more difficult to control and fire it quickly and accurately than a 22?
Yes, if we're going by the calibers, yeah, 50 caliber would be a lot more difficult to carry around than a 9mm. Yes.
Okay. And
What relevance do these questions have to this case? This case is about negligence.
whether or not
I don't understand.
they went to the shooting
I really
range, Jennifer
don't.
ever went took them at a different time. You don't really know, though, correct?
No, all I know is the evidence that I found and that was presented today and I testified to.
Okay, well, let's talk about that for a minute. What have you reviewed? Just summarize what you've reviewed.
So I've reviewed surveillance camera video from both the school, the firearms range, Facebook returns for James and Jennifer Crumbley, Instagram returns, the forensic download of 7 cell phones, I believe, belonging to James, Jennifer, and the shooter, the entire case file, other interviews, and things like that. Basically everything related to this case.
Okay, when you say you've reviewed the phones, that means all the content that was on the phone, correct?
Yes.
Going back to quite a long time.
Yes.
In fact, some of the cell phone data went back several years.
Yes.
Okay, and on those phones, you also reviewed every video taken by Jennifer Crumbley.
Yes.
Correct? Every picture, correct?
Yes.
All of the Facebook messages from the return that she hadn't deleted, you reviewed those, correct?
Yes.
All of the communications between the two, Jennifer and James, correct?
Yes.
Videos that were recorded by her of herself, correct?
Yes.
Videos of the two of them fighting, correct?
Your Honor?
No,
I would
Your Honor,
ask-
let me finish.
This is
Whoa,
all
whoa, whoa.
leading questions.
Okay. The question was, you don't know too much about this family, do you? Is that true?
In the context of this investigation, I've learned a lot about the Crumbley family. based on the way the question was asked, I thought it was more in the lines of, in the same way of asking if I knew the shooter, do I know the Crumbleys? I don't personally know them, but in this investigation, yes, I've had a very detailed look at their life over the last.
I don't see how the prosecutor felt that she was entitled to walk through this door or why the attorney's letting her walk through. That question was simple.
Yes.
Okay.
Did he have knowledge of who was putting the gun away that night?
Parent Jennifer Crumbley or James Crumbley was next to him, correct?
That's what-
Okay. Let's just say for a moment, they were. Do you still have any problem with that video?
Objection. His opinion about having a problem with it is irrelevant.
Thank you, attorney.
It's about safety when you look at that video, regardless of who was next to him.
Yes, based on the height of the table, the direction the firearm was pointed would either have been at the, based on the way the wood grain goes, it would have either been at the neighbor's house or out the front window of the house. And because the height of the table, potentially, and with the porch, I'm not quite sure if it would be head height or stomach or above, but it would definitely be pointed in a direction where if the firearm was shot, it could travel outside the home.
Okay. You were asked about whose responsibility it was, or did you know, to lock up the weapon, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Whose responsibility is it when a firearm, a 9mm, is in your home? Whose responsibility is when you know there's a minor there?
Based on my understanding of the
gun owner.
I can say that it would not be on the juvenile.
I mean, what a horrible
You
question.
asked about that meeting in the counselor's office, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And the worksheet that you viewed,
Yes.
correct? Okay. And you were asked if you don't know what the counselor said about it, correct? And your answer was no, you don't.
Correct. I said I wasn't personally there.
The owner of that gun is responsible for it, Miss
The
Prosecutor,
worksheet was shown to Jennifer Crumbley, correct?
not
Yes.
And
Jennifer Crumbley, who isn't the owner. Now, if she found that gun laying out, she,
and
as an
the worksheet had
adult,
the
should
word
secure it.
blood everywhere,
But you
correct?
got to prove she knew it was out.
That worksheet
Your
was
Honor,
both texted.
objection to leading. This is all leading.
Do you know whether or not Jennifer Crumbley saw that worksheet?
Yes.
All right. And how do you know that?
It was on her cell phone, and she sent it to several people after she received it.
Okay. And do you know that if the worksheet that she was shown had the words "help me," blood everywhere?
It did.
Okay. Thank you.
You can sit down next to me. Okay, so I know it's a long way, but I'm intent on using time as well as possible. I think we made some good headway today. I'm going to ask you to return at 8:30 in the morning. If you guys have any questions about the schedule, did you pull up your lunch? Was the lunch good? I made it. I'm gonna have you return at 8:30 in the morning. Any questions about the schedule? I'm supposed to tell you. During the trial, do not read, listen to, or watch any news reports about the case, and with the law, the evidence you consider to decide the case must meet certain standards. For example, witnesses must swear to tell the truth, and lawyers must be able to cross-examine them. News reports do not have to meet these standards. They could give you incorrect or misleading information. So to be fair to both sides, you must follow this instruction. Do not go on social media. Don't post. Don't do research. Don't watch the news. And please do not discuss the case with anyone. If anyone attempts to discuss the case with you, please let me know. All right? All right, we appreciate you. Any questions about the schedule? I think we're moving along, okay?
All right for the jury?
Anything?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so are you holding the yours? They should be holding it. Okay, all right, go ahead. 8:30, do you know who may be tomorrow?
Yeah, I think we already communicated that, Aaron.
Your Honor, I'd like to know, and Mr. Key said he will send me an email later, but I'm asking that please happen.
Okay.
I think we were asked to do that. We're not going to text message with counsel, but we were asked. We emailed her as far as I know.
I can't assess, but I can ask politely, yeah. So I'd like you to know that if possible, so.
Thank you.
All right, I'll see you in a moment.
Thank you.
Thanks, Judge.
All right, everyone, we are now going down to Michigan here, where parents of the accused Oxford High School shooter due in court here. You're seeing them right now for a probable cause hearing. Jennifer and James Crumbley will be in front of Judge Julie Nicholson. Let's watch and listen right here on Live Now from Fox.
All right, guys. So that concludes day one of the Crumbley trial. And I thought we would go through this or discuss this. This is the jury instructions for involuntary manslaughter. In other words, this is what the state has to prove here in this case. So, these are the three elements that they need to prove. And first, they have to prove that the defendant caused the death. That is, that there was that actions of hers resulted in the death of the individual she's charged with. Second, because this is a negligence issue. Second, in doing that act, the death has to be due to the gross has to be due to the fact that the defendant acted in a grossly negligent manner. And then final, that there was no lawful excuse or justification. Now, when you get into the gross negligence factor here, this negligence definition kicks in. And this is where the crux of this case, the troubling aspects of this case is the causal link between something she was doing and her son, because negligence, if there's an intervention, in other words, if her son intervenes and causes the death, but it's not related to anything she did, or whatever was going on, she shouldn't have been expected to have believed that it would have resulted in the death, in the deaths that occurred, then you don't have a case here. And that's where this case has kind of become novel. Because gross negligence means more than carelessness. It means willfully disregarding the results to others that might follow from an act or failure to act. In order to find that the defendant was grossly negligent, you must find each of the following three things beyond a reasonable doubt. First, that the defendant knew of the danger to another. That is, they knew there was a situation that required them to take ordinary care to avoid injuring another. Second, that the defendant could have avoided injuring another by using ordinary care. And third, that the defendant failed to use ordinary care to prevent injuring another, when to a reasonable person, it must have been apparent that the result was likely to be a serious injury. Now, the issue here is the state's main causal element to her and her negligence is that picture was drawn on the day of the shooting, and she chose not to leave the school. But the problem that you're going to see here in the issue that the defense is going to make with this is that the school didn't even ask him to leave, and although they had recommended it, they weren't requiring it, and the school let him stay. So that's where you get to the point where you say, okay, the reasonableness. How unreasonable was it for her to have her son there? Well, if it was to the level of unreasonableness needed for gross negligence, then so would the school officials be in the same situation. So the defense can present that as evidence to say that they didn't meet this element. This is why the real issue in this case, and this is why that defense attorney is jumping up and down, angry as hell that they're allowed to get in all of this inflammatory information and prejudicial information in terms of how the killing took place, them at the shooting range. These are things that really have no basis in this trial, because it's not, she's not the person that allegedly handled the gun, and they're willing to stipulate that all these deaths occurred. The only issue at hand is what did she know, and whether or not her actions, she could have taken actions to have prevented this death from occurring. And that's the answer. That's the question before the jury. It's not, is it, was she mishandling a firearm? What's her level of firearm training? And then in addition, to tie in, you have to say that they're saying, well, she was negligent in allowing her son access to a firearm. Well, if her belief was, hey, his father, who is a firearms enthusiast, and father and son are just enjoying some fatherly and sonly exploits here, how does that make her guilty of gross negligence in this case? Because any mother out there, when it comes to father and son activities, are going to be like, hey, the father's taking responsibility of it. It's the father's firearms. He owns the firearms. Anyways, so this is what's got to be proven here. by the state, and then the other uh, uh, relevant thing here is talking about the degrees of negligence. This will be an instruction that the jury will receive, and it's understanding what basically gross negligence and ordinary negligence are two things that you can that could lead to criminal culpability. Slight negligence is not. So these are the three different degrees here. Gross negligence is an element of manslaughter with a motor vehicle. Ordinary negligence is an element of negligent homicide. Slight negligence is not a crime at all. Because of that, I need to tell you the differences between slight, ordinary, and gross. So slight negligence means doing something that is not usually dangerous, something that only an extremely careful person would have thought could cause injury. In this case, if you find that the defendant was only slightly negligent, then you must find him not guilty. And that's what her defense is going to be. Ordinary negligence means not taking responsible care under the circumstances as they were at the time. And that's the idea of she didn't take him out of school and get him help. And she didn't go look around for the firearm. If someone does something that is usually dangerous, something that a sensible person would know could hurt someone, that is ordinary negligence. If the defendant did not do what a sensible person would have done under the circumstances, then that is ordinary negligence. And the idea here is is it really does this rise to the level of ordinary negligence for her not having sought out mental health treatment for her son? A lot of parents would hesitate on that, but and then it leads to a school shooting. So this is a dangerous, slippery slope leading to charging parents under the theory that they have here. And the other issue I see here, in my opinion, is a due process issue from the standpoint of that when you're looking at trying to measure this, how do you measure? What is the standard of measurement in measuring what leads, saying, well, we have parent A who does this and parent B who does that. Due process, the due process clause says in order for the state to prove a crime against you or to prove you've done something wrong, they've got to have a standard, a definable standard that you can defend against, that you can measure against. That if you set 100 people in a room, they'd all be able to understand what that standard was. But if you have something that 100 people come in and say, well, it could be this and it could be that and it could be this, that's vague. It's in violation of the due process clause. And as a result, the statute. Now, the problem here is this statute in and of itself, they're stretching it to try to cover this situation. Now, there was a case that, or there was an appeal in this case, and it was the appeal basis was essentially based upon the causal link here. Let's see here. Give me a moment here. All right. So the basis of the appeal was under the idea of whether or not you could sustain the causal link here, saying that her negligence transfers over to her son. And if there's an intervening cause, the intervening cause would be her son and her son's actions, and that would erase the negligence on her part, because the intervening cause is her son deciding for his own reasons to go do this and saying, again, it's akin to the gun manufacturer getting charged here. It's akin to the bar getting charged criminally for a DUI driver's death because they served that DUI driver. And it's a slippery slope that we have here, but the state of Michigan said they greenlit this case to go forward. And only when a conviction occurs here, I think if she were to be found not guilty, it's going to slow this down. If she's found guilty, this is going to become a potential new standard in a new way of looking at these crimes. And that's going to be new territory for everybody. But anyways, day one is over. We're going to be doing day 2 here shortly, and so I'm going to take a little break here, get day 2 prepped up, and then we're going to try to get through day 2 before tomorrow, because tomorrow starts day 3. So probably will be another 3 or 4 hours, I would imagine, to get through all of that. I know day 2 is the one where all the clips came in of the fieriness between the prosecutor and the defense attorney. So anyways, guys, I'll see you in day 2. And until then, let justice prevail.